We are finally here. We are finally here. Finally here. And with that, no further ado, Big Sills. NFL Draft 2024 is here. And I'll tell you what, I think there's going to be some pretty interesting news coming up in this draft tonight. There's no question Howie Roseman, Rockstar Roseman, and Fredo Sirianni are going to be front and center in that draft room tonight in Philly at the NovaCare Center. And moving up for what will be the big issue? Moving up for what? Now, let me say this to you right out of the gate here. So, Amon St. Brown, the kid from Detroit, just signed a $30 million a year contract for 3 years on that extension that he signed. Do you understand? Like I told you, Devontae Smith burned $36 million. $36 million. His contract is already garbage. $36 million. I mean, that kid in Detroit is really good. But he almost doubled what he got. What an absolutely insane deal, Devontae Smith. Hey, man, I get it. He loves Philly. But to the tune of $12 million, that guy got $30 million as an average salary for 3 years. Smith, his overall deal will be for 18-4. Man, what a haircut. Big Sills hoping the Eagles draft Wiggins from Clemson. He sucks. The hoping the Eagles draft Barton, the kid from Duke, or JPL. By the way, still pissed at us for drafting Mozzie. Told you, man, third rounder at best. Third rounder at best. Hey, this is going to be absolutely, hey, Joho, this is going to be crazy, man. Make no mistake about it. We're going to take a look at all the team's needs, and I mean all the team's needs for tonight's draft. We'll put a chart together here. We're going to go over some of the things also that we're hitting on. We got a full loaded show today, too. Meril Reese will join us at 3:30. Philly 500 is going to join us. We'll get his perspective on what he expects to see tonight. We'll get the national perspective also with Jason Colt. And tonight during the draft, only place we're going to do stuff is right here on JAKIB. So maybe a couple picks before the Eagles selection, we're going to jump on, and hopefully you'll end up joining us too as well. So we appreciate it. Got to tell you, man. Oh, and by the way, tomorrow on Friday is a special show. We're doing that at 10 a.m. because we have to take off for my daughter's graduation on Friday. So she's graduating tomorrow night, 10 o'clock Eastern time. And we're looking forward to going to see that too. So there'll be a lot of reaction. So we appreciate everybody coming aboard. This is going to be a great night tonight. I mean, do I think there's massive impact, guys? I don't know. Can I show you something here? Let me make a point to you here. There could be as many as 10 offensive linemen drafted tonight, right? 10 that could go in the first round tonight. 5 quarterbacks can go. Help me out on my math here, right, Xander? Okay, that's almost half the draft in 2 positions. Then if you put the wide receivers, 6 could go in 3 positions. Just so you know, 3 positions. 3. You're going to have as many as 26 picks with O-linemen, quarterbacks, and wide receivers. And hell, the rest of the draft is really made up with the rest of the edge rushers. There's no running backs. There's no safeties. There's no linebackers. There's 1 tight end. You're really seeing there's one defensive tackle. Half the draft could be made up of two positions. Crazy, man. I mean, it just shows you that how deep the O-line class is. Your chances of landing on a really good ball player there won't be a sexy pick for someone, but your chances of landing on a really good football player is exceptionally high there. Can I tell you the biggest gambles in this draft are the corners? Is Howie Roseman going to draft a cornerback when, quite frankly, the draft is really not dictating, telling you that this is a high-powered cornerback position draft? Are you really going to draft that position this year? The best cornerback in the country is not in this draft. He's next year out of Colorado. I mean, he's next year. The best player in the draft is the tight end. I mean, you could make the argument that Marvin Harrison Jr. too. Hey, man, I love what he did to the draft process. He told everyone to kiss his ass. Hey, I'm not running 40s for you. If my tape's not good enough, you could do my measurables. You could take a look at my medical, all that stuff. I'm not here to run 40s, and I'm not going to sit here and go through combine bullshit. I'll do an interview. We'll have a nice conversation, but I'm not going. Now, I wouldn't recommend that for everybody. I wouldn't recommend that for everybody because not everybody's going to have that leverage like Marvin Harrison Jr. does. I wouldn't recommend that. But I'm saying that, in my opinion, I liked what he really did here. Defense is becoming a dinosaur. Hey, man, defense is becoming a dinosaur across the league is absolutely right. I mean, the Eagles address. Here's one thing also we'll say. The Eagles addressing Lane Johnson and his replacement tonight is absolutely ridiculous. So you're going to draft another guy that will give you for the third straight year no impact whatsoever on your draft. You haven't had an impact player in 2 years on your draft. A little bit with Jalen Carter, but no one else has had an impact in your draft for the last 2 years. You're going to do that again with your premium pick in the first pick and have him sit behind Lane Johnson or try to have him play out of position at right guard? That's ridiculous, man. Get a guy or trade for a guy who could play now. You need a player who needs to play today. I'm not drafting a guy who I'm going to sit and wait for 2 years. That's arrogance. Eventually, that's going to catch up, and it's caught up with you already on defense. That's why you got to go into the free agency, and you got to get everybody's leftovers. Everybody's leftovers is who you sign on defense. I mean, hey, one other thing about the draft tonight. Redshirting players in the NFL, get out. If I draft you in the first 3 rounds, you better be playing. One thing about the NFL draft tonight, NBA draft blows. Major League Baseball draft is unwatchable. WNBA, I watched it because of Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese. I had more interest in that than those other two. NFL, they have owned. This I would say, has to be a non-sporting event, like playing games. This has to be one of the greatest non-sport moments in sports, hearing somebody go like this with the 57th player taken, the Philadelphia Eagles select whatever. It's incredible. You're going to get millions and millions of people watching this thing. You're going to get millions and millions of people that are going to watch for this. Now, again, we've made our case when it comes to the Philadelphia Eagles and college personnel. They're not very good. They're not very good. We all know this. He's just not good. I mean, he hasn't really hit in the last 2 drafts on anybody. Carter, sure. Maybe Juergens. We'll see this year when he's the main guy. It's one thing to be a right guard, another thing to go in there and be the focal point center. We'll see what he does. Okay? Let's see what he does. Defensively, he's been a train wreck on that side of the ball. Been a train wreck. Shooter thinks May's the best quarterback. 1 week, Shooter, I go this way on him. Yeah. Next week, I go, no. I thought he had a better junior year. Steen and possibly Sidney Brown. We won't see Sidney Brown until the mid part of the season next year because of his knee injury. So, going into a draft tonight, it's not so much what the Eagles are going to do. To me, I hope they do the smart thing. Stay away from the cornerback position. You're not good at it. And you even said at your press conference, you do things unconventionally back there. Stick to your plan. If you're going to go for a corner, maybe after the draft, try to trade for Patrick Surtain. I don't know. Maybe do it after the draft. But you haven't drafted a corner in 25 years. Why would you go with the hardest position to evaluate in a draft that's really not that deep at that position? It's a bigger gamble. It's a bigger gamble. We're going to look at all the needs. We're going to look at all the needs here. It's going to be interesting to see where they go and what they do. Fredo Sirianni and Roseman and Associates. It'll be pretty interesting to see how they handle this tonight. I think it's kind of interesting to see how she really got her way, didn't she? A.J. Owens, she got her way. She had 2 years left on her contract. And because she started pouting, someone else got more money. The guy in Detroit makes more money now than her in Philly. And she started crying. Man, love the Patriots. I can't take it. Devontae got a new deal. So she started crying with 2 years left on the contract. Man, I can't believe the guy St. Brown got more money than me. Devontae got as much as me. Woo, man. I got to wipe my eyes over here. How come I'm not making $30 million? So she got her panties in a bind. And guess what the Eagles did? Guess what the Eagles did? I know you've got 2 years left on your deal, honey. Why don't we start working on a contract extension? How's that, sweetheart? Okay? Thank you so much, sweetie. Is it really? Thank you so much, Howie and Associates. I didn't want to have to change my social media platforms again to show you what a bitch I am. Holy cow. And by the way, I don't really think he's wrong. 2 years on his contract. The Eagles are so worried about this guy blowing up, about him not making market money. Get this. This shows you the difference between A.J. Owens. Look at this one here, Xander. Here's the difference between A.J. Owens and Devontae Smith. You ready? Devontae Smith is leaving $12 million a year over 3 years of that 5-year contract he signed. That's $36 million. He said the Eagles could keep. St. Brown now is going to average for those 3 years $30 million. You know what Devontae is going to average? 25. No, 18.4. He left $12 million on the table. You think he's going to complain about it? Get this. Devontae Smith signed that hey, when did Devontae Smith sign that contract? What was it? A week ago? His contract a week ago is now outdated by a ton. It's outdated by a ton. Sorry, I just got thrown off there. My wife just put eyebrows on for the first time, and she looks like Bella Lugosi. So I apologize. Excuse me. Sorry, Xander. I got thrown there for a bit. It's a big day. It's draft day, so that kind of threw me for a little bit there. Okay, way to go! Oh my God! Yeah, my wife will do that every now and then. Hold on. Hey, do you think you're going to give me more money? What? And who did they tell that to? Philadelphia's resident mouthpiece, Howard Big Mouth Eskin. Man, have you lost integrity? You used to be somebody I respected in the business. Man, you sold your soul to that franchise so that you can continue to work. Hey, you know what? Hey, to each his own. Man, you compromised 40 years of sports talk radio in Philly, giving it straight like you used to. And now you're a mouthpiece for Bob Lang and Roseman and Associates. Phew. Why wouldn't he be? Spike Eskin is Kids in the Afternoon? Perfect. Spike will be the new PD there soon. Man. Oh. So she started crying. She got a deal. Thank you. I won't blow up now. Sills, would you rather have highest paid quality coach, reasonably paid players, the highest paid players? I'd rather have competent coaching and a competent organization and with a great quarterback. That's what I'd rather have. I'm not even going to use Kansas City. I'll just use Buffalo. I think Buffalo's doing it right. Okay? I mean, Mike Quiet. Say, bro, got more money than me. Devontae got as much money as me. I told you he'd bitch and cry. 2 years remaining on his contract. But because they were so afraid of that guy blowing up, they're now talking contract extension with AJ Owens. She got her way, man. Way to go. Yes, sir. 2 years left on her deal. And she got her way. Oh, man. That's the best on the planet there. Yes, sir, baby. Thank you for the $2 there, son. I appreciate it. Take your meds, Karen Sileo, crying as you, whatever. Yeah, okay, good. Sure, dude. Okay. Sure. You got to pay to get my attention? That's all you do is pay to get my attention. I'm okay with that. If you want to pay to get my attention, no problem. I'll be just like Howard Eskin. I'm easy too. Hey, all you got to do is, sweetheart, if you want to I'll tell you what I'll do. If you put $100 on a super chat up there, whatever you want me to say, honey, I'll say it. Yeah. Hey, get this. So look at Mr. Perez here, what he says about my daughter. He goes at my daughter now. See that? Mr. Perez just said, your daughter gives good head, Sills. This is sports talk, dude. Really? That's what you say about my kid? It's too bad, man. My kid? Well, you don't have anything, and she's done nothing to you. But because you don't like my takes, you said my daughter gives good blowjobs. Really? On the day it's the draft. Okay. You know what I say? God bless you. God bless you. Absolutely not. If you don't like it, you can leave, dude. You can go. If you don't like what I said. You can go. And by the way, I don't want them blocked. Because I like seeing people for who they are. We don't block people here. We don't do that. You expose yourself. Okay? You do. Because this is what we do here. God bless you, man. Hope God is in your life. Dude, Twiz, right. You want to talk all shit on me? That's all good. Look at LJ killing me. I'm all good that, and he knows that because I kill him too. We're good. Enough. Because it is a great day. I do want to go back over my final mock draft, and I want to do my final five. And then we're going to take a look at some of the needs. And first, I think we'll start it out with the Eagles. And then what we'll do is we'll go into all the teams throughout the NFL. Like I said, Meril Reese will join us at 3:30, and we will have Philly 500 at 4:30, and then we will have our good friend Jason Cole at 5:30. All right, here we go. So, my final five. I said it yesterday. You trade up to get the best player in the National Football League draft. Brock Bowers. I think the second best player in the draft is Jared Verse, Florida State. For me, Chop Robinson is the third best edge rusher. I think the best offensive tackle in the draft is Talisi Fuaga, the Oregon State kid. Then the best corner, in my opinion, hey, Quinton Mitchell may be the best athlete, but I think the best football player in the draft is Teron Arnold. I like J.C. Latham too. The Bama kid's nice. You're not going to go wrong with any of those offensive linemen, in my opinion, in the draft. I think the kid Guyton, even out of Oklahoma, is good. Of course, Bama, because he played in the SEC, correct. Not because he played against people who nobody will ever draft. How many people do you think that Mitchell played against that will be drafted in the draft in the first, second, or third round? Probably none. Dude, you look good amongst short trees and you're the tallest tree. That's not really telling me much. You're not standing out in a crowd. When you're in the Southeastern Conference, you're standing out in a crowd. When you're in the MAC, Mid-America Conference, you're not standing out in a crowd. Okay? You're not. Do you think Bauer will fall out of the top 10? I just made the point to you here. Think about this. Hey, Steve. 1003. Steve. 10 O-linemen could go in tonight's draft. 6 wide receivers. That's 16. Half the draft is going to go to two positions, O-line and wideout. You put the 5 quarterbacks, that's 21 players taken out of 32. And how many edge rushers are going to go? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So you got 5. 26 players in 4 positions out of 32 are going to be wide receiver, OT, quarterback, and edge. You're going to take a corner in a draft that's not loaded with good corners? Who's the second best corner? In my opinion, it's Mitchell. And I wouldn't draft these guys. I'm not that impressed with them. I'm not that impressed with him. I think he's really good looking at the combines. You watch him on tape. Okay, yeah, man, he's beating people that are okay. I thought he had a good Senior Bowl. I did. I thought he had a good Senior Bowl. Other than Bowers, who would you draft, Sills? CJ, here's my guys. Brock Bowers, tight end. Here's my final 5. If they land on any of these guys, I'm good. Bowers from Georgia, tight end. Jared Verse, edge rusher, Florida State. Chop Robinson, edge rusher, Penn State. Talisi Fuaga, Oregon State, offensive tackle. And Teron Arnold, cornerback, Alabama. Those would be the 3 guys. And I'm not really a 100% on the Arnold kid. I more likely should go O-line there. But it's a need that the Eagles have in this draft, is at the cornerback position. Sills, do you think Caleb Williams is as advertised or a bust? I've never been more conflicted on a player in my life. I've never seen him win a game that mattered. I've never seen Caleb Williams do anything exceptional and win a game with 2 minutes left. I've not seen him do anything exceptional. He doesn't look exceptional to me. I mean, when you watch him, do you really see exceptional arm talent, athleticism? He's not the biggest dude. Like, if he was like built like Josh Allen or Joe Burrow or someone like that, or Justin Herbert, you look at the physical size. He's the little guy. He's like 6'1", 205. Some of the things that he did in college will not translate to the league. That improvising out in open space like that against those talented linebackers and OLBs and corners in today's league, that shit's not going to fly, man. That shit's just not going to fly. It's just not. I think the kid from Arizona State / LSU, I think he's the best player in the draft at that position for the quarterbacks. Sad that Rattler might be the best quarterback. He's talking Spencer Rattler. Spencer Rattler got hosed around by Lincoln Riley at Oklahoma. They put in Caleb Williams, pulled him out. He had a transfer. He goes to South Carolina. Not a bastion of trying to, produce any kind of quarterbacks out of South Carolina. Sills, last year, 90 million people watched the draft. It's incredible. It's a non-football day, too. You know what I mean? You're not playing a game. And 90 people will watch 3 rounds of the National Football League draft. It's incredible. James, thank you very much, man. That's really cool. All super chats, as you guys know, go to the top. I agree on Arnold, especially because he started at safety, then moved up to corner for the last 2 years and already equal to all the other corners. Plus, the move is usually back, not front to corner. That's a great take. But Mitchell did shut down Harrison in 22. I went back and watched that game. He did. My question would be, James, so get this, James. Would this be a fair statement, James, when it comes to Mitchell covering Marvin Harrison? So Marvin Harrison had to play against Mitchell. He had to play against DeJohn. He had to play against some of the other quality guys that were in and at Michigan. And on a weekly basis, he was playing against people who were targeting him number one each and every single week. Is that right? How many weeks do you think Quinton Mitchell had to prepare for the best wide receiver in the country? When you're at Ohio State, you're taking on the best athlete that they have on their defense at that cornerback position every week. Every week when Devontae Smith was at Alabama, he's taking on the best corners in practice and in the games, week in and week out. Every single day, he's playing against the best. How many weeks do you think Quinton Mitchell played against the best? Once? In 3 years? When he played against Harrison? Sauce Gardner played at Cincinnati. Yeah, Sauce Gardner played at Cincinnati. Yeah. You're gonna land. How many corners do you think Cincinnati's gonna produce over the next 20 years? Sauce Gardner? I'll take my shot at Georgia, LSU, or Ohio State. Okay. You're right. Sauce played at Cincinnati. How many DBs do you think that program's going to produce? You're going to get 1 out of 10 right. You're totally going to get 1 out of 10. Okay? How many quarterbacks like Sauce Gardner are you going to produce at Cincinnati over the next decade? 1? Okay. LSU, Alabama, Georgia, Florida, Ohio State, Clemson. Those programs are going to produce corners every single draft cycle. And if you land on a guy at Toledo in a position that has massive failure rate, and when you add Howie's failure rate, get this, Howie has a 70% chance of failing if he drafts a corner. Oregon too, Mike. Yeah, I'll put that in there. Sauce was certified. Once again, he'll be the only corner that program ever produces at that level of talent in the next 30 years. Next 30 years. Dan, the majority of the first-round talent comes from the Southeastern Conference. That's a great call. I didn't even think about that. Let's take a look at that. We'll look at my last mock draft here, too. That's a really good take there, man. How many? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Half the draft is from the Southeastern Conference. And the other, I would imagine, is the Big Ten. No, but you're going to take a kid like Quinton Mitchell, where Howie sucks on defense and the organization itself hasn't been successful at corner. He tells you without a doubt that they do things unconventional in the secondary, but you want him to draft a corner? I want him to stay away from corner as much as possible, actually. I don't trust him. Draft a guy who's going to play for you immediately, and don't do a left tackle or a right tackle. Jesus, criminy guy. Right tackle? So you have the heir apparent to Lane? You got to be kidding me, man. I want to show you guys something here real quick. I want to show you if you do this stuff right. Okay? If you do this stuff right, how great this could be. This is the all-time, I took this from Rick Gosselin. This is the all-time National Football League second round defensive football team. Some of these names you guys won't know because of age. Some of you will know because of the history of the sport. Defensive end, Michael Strahan, second rounder. Actually, HBCU school too. Gino Marchetti, both are Hall of Famers. Curly Culp, Hall of Famer, DT. Doug English, all-decade team, heck of a ball player with the Detroit Lions. Jack Ham, Penn State, second round, Hall of Famer. Willie Lanier, second round, Hall of Famer, HBCU. Ted Hendricks, University of Miami, Baltimore, Hall of Famer. Len Barney, DT, second round, Hall of Famer. Mel Renfro, Dallas, all-decade. Paul Krause, Washington, Hall of Famer. Leroy Butler, Florida State, Green Bay, Hall of Famer. If you do it right, the second round, third round, first, second, and third can also build your defense if you know what you're looking for. But like I told you in the last 8 drafts, Howie Roseman has drafted 4 defensive linemen and no other position in the first 2 rounds. Why? Is it the league? You know what? It could be. It could be. Shannon Sharpe was not a second-round selection. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, Martin, I think that Shannon Sharpe was a 6th-rounder, maybe a 5th-rounder. I don't believe he went in the second round. I thought he was a guy who went in the latter rounds and not a second. I think it was the 7th, something like that, 6th or 7th round. Denver drafted him. Absolutely. All right. So tonight's going to be interesting. And I'm going to go over my final mock draft, and I'm going to kind of hang with it here. But I am going to do this here. You know, I looked at my 3rd mock draft, and actually, I like my first mock draft better. And this is why I went back to it. And I went back to this is the second one. This is the second one. And here's where I'm going to go here. Tonight in the draft, I think Caleb Williams does go to Chicago. Bears pushed all their chips in. I think Ryan Poles has actually had a pretty damn good offseason so far. I think Ryan Poles has done a nice job. Keenan Allen, DJ Moore a year ago. You signed DeAndre Swift. Now you're going to get a quarterback. And you also have another pick at 9. So, I mean, I think he's done a nice job here. I do think Jaden Daniels goes to Washington. I think Drake May goes to New England. Unless something dramatic happens. I think they take Drake May. Hey, I'll tell you one thing, man. I got to give it to Jonathan Gannon. So Jonathan Gannon is now going to have Marvin Harrison Jr. there for Kyler Murray. And they've got 11 draft picks. They land on some of these draft picks. Arizona could be a surprise. You get Marvin Harrison Jr. in there, and you got a healthy Kyler Murray. You get a running game going like they did against the Eagles and the Cowboys. Arizona, remember something. You know what you guys are forgetting? How many people think Arizona is a decent team or could have decent talent with 11 draft picks and a healthy Kyler Murray? How many people think the kid could be good? What do you think? How many people believe Arizona could be good? Big Trag goes like this, not me. Arizona's good. They beat us, so yeah, King. They can be good. I'm more like that too, Flexen. Because here's why. Did they not beat both Dallas and the Philadelphia Eagles this year? And that was those were 2 teams that finished 1 and 2 in the East, right? I mean, they beat the brakes off the Cowboys, and they completely beat down the Eagles. That quarterback beat Dak and Jalen. Did he not? Was it just like, and they had nobody on the team. I mean, there were backups. That's right. There were backups on that team beating the Eagles. Rams are going to be good too, man. They got 11 picks. Personally, I think the NFC East is going to walk backwards this coming season. Jonathan Gannon went to Louisville. So both can improve. Let's see here. I think the Rams are going to be good. I got Malik Neighbors going to the Chargers. I think the Chargers are going to move off that 5th pick and move down and get themselves an offensive lineman. But I'm hanging here. Roma Odunze, I think the Giants do get a wide receiver here. I think Minnesota at 7 takes J.J. McCarthy, or they move up to the Chargers pick, and they take J.J. McCarthy's the biggest bust in this draft since Johnny Manziel. It's the biggest bust since Johnny Manziel. He reminds me of a good dude, Johnny Manziel. Quinton Mitchell, I do believe is going to go in the top 10. I think Atlanta gets him. Dallas Turner, Chicago, they need an edge rusher. I think they're going Dallas Turner. Dave Wannstedt doesn't really like the guy. Got to get him in space. I think Joe Alt, I think the Jets do the right thing. The Jets have a chance to draft Brock Bowers at 10. But they need to protect. Did you not? Hey, what was the biggest disappointment last year in the National Football League when it came to national coverage? Was Aaron Rodgers going down. The Jets have to do everything in their power to protect a 40-year-old quarterback. Does Brock Bowers help you? Probably. But who protects you? They need an all-lineman, and these guys are ready to play today. So the Jets should do the right thing. I think Joe Douglas will do the right thing. And I still think he may make a deal for a big-time wide receiver still as the season and the offseason continues. Talisi Fuaga, unless the Eagles move up, I think he goes to Tennessee at 11. I think Bowers, I think he goes to Denver. Now, I don't believe they stay there. Denver has to decide, is Jarrett Stidham and Zach Wilson the people that they want to go into OTAs and training camp with? Why wouldn't Denver go and pick up Justin Fields when what was the price tag that the Steelers got for Justin Fields? Does anyone remember? Wasn't it like a 6th rounder? Why would you have not gone for that guy who had far less to work with than what Zach Wilson did in New York? I think Justin Fields is 10 times the player Zach Wilson is. He had nothing. Zach Wilson is the equivalent of what the Eagles did to Carson Wentz by having no talent around him. I mean, Caleb Williams has more talent around him now, except in the O-line. You could make the argument as much as Jalen does. I mean, you can make that argument. Where the Eagles are better is in the O-line. For all their money's being spent. Toledo cornerback Quinton Mitchell is coming to Philly. Be another bust. 2nd round Eagles select Kitchens, Miami. Safety, I'd love that pick. Love that pick. If that happens, we'll get him on. If that happens. No, senor. The Steelers did not pick up the 5th-year option. They are declining to pick the 5th-year option up. They're not picking it up. They've made it very clear that they're not picking that 5th-year option up. That's not true. The Steelers came out yesterday and declined to pick it up. they're not going to pay a backup quarterback more than they're paying Russell Wilson. With more film study, people are overvaluing Cooper, linebacker, Texas A&M, because he isn't best processing, stacking, and sorting OL. His LBs and DLs did that a lot, allowed him to run clean and chase. Seems more of a will linebacker or middle linebacker. What do you think as a DN? It's a great take, James. I think that defensive football team that Texas A&M had last year, it was completely underachieving, and they have a lot of great-looking players that could go in rounds 2, 3, and 5 that were in that front seven. I think that Dumbo Fisher completely shit the bed when it came to his coaching staff. One of the things that he did not do that he did at Florida State, his coaching staff was just not good enough at College Station. It just wasn't. They were getting all those top flight. All those, get this. Do you understand something, James, what they did just to get rid of Dumbo Fisher? They paid him $70 million to get him out of there. And they didn't bat an eye. Do you know the money that A&M has? It's the richest college football program in the United States when it comes to alumni kicking in to the program. That includes Texas. Nobody generates more nil money and more for the program than Texas A&M. It's a gold mine of a job. And for the life of me, I don't know how anyone hasn't won there since Bear Bryant. No one's really won there since Bear Bryant, not even Kevin Sumlin. Ever see Draft Day? I like the movie, but it's BS. Yeah, nobody's going to trade. Here, Q, the big deal about the deal when it comes to the trading, nobody's going to give you a third round. Nobody's going to give you 3 ones after trading to move up and trade back all 3 first-round draft choices to a football team. And no one's going to do that. No one in their right mind would do that. Just to what? Save $7 million? A team would rather eat the $7 million and keep the 3 ones and make you pay for someone you don't want to. That would never happen. Never happen. That was good. Hey, a lot of the shit, the fake information and shit like that is pretty cool in that movie. But yeah, I mean, and the guy talking the way he does, the Kevin Costner as a general manager, he's Howie Roseman, but he's just got a Chip Kelly attitude. When I watched that movie, Draft Day, that's Howie Roseman and Chip Kelly in one guy. Guy with a shitty attitude and a Napoleonic mentality. That's Howie and Chip all wrapped up into one. J.C. Latham, I got going to the Raiders. I think the Raiders want to try to make a move for a quarterback. I think Teron Arnold's going to go 15 to Indy. Amarius Mims, Seattle. They need O-line help up there. One of the only DTs outside the kid from Illinois. I think Murphy goes to Jacksonville. Fahashu, Penn State OT, goes to Cincinnati. Got to protect Burrow. I'll tell you who I'm really getting really high on here is this Latu kid from UCLA. You know what, man? Outside of Arnold, I'd like to put the Latu kid there as my final 5 because he looks like a sensational athlete. Put on his game film. That kid gets around the hook, man. He's a good-looking football player. You know what, too, Senor? That Michael Penix deal to the Raiders, that sounds like it fits. That sounds like it fits, you know? UCLA is not a football school. Let's see. Who's Aikman, Jackie Robinson? You drafted a linebacker. I think the last linebacker. Hey, Senor, am I right when I say this? I think the last linebacker the Eagles drafted in the first round was Robinson out of UCLA. Kenny Easley was a great player. I can't think of too many wideouts at that place, though. Running backs. Can't think a lot of running backs, tight ends. Aikman, Gary Biebenstunk. The old lineman, Eatman, was a heck of a ball player, Hall of Famer. He was good. He was a good ball player. Irv Eatman, he was good. UCLA, it's a good take. Jerry Robinson, that's the last guy that the Eagles took in the first round at linebacker, and he went to UCLA. Tommy Maddox stunk. He still went in the first round. Freddie Mitchell was average. He was a good ball player. I mean, right? I got the Brian Thomas going to Pittsburgh. You know what, though? I kind of started hedging my bets on that. Does Pittsburgh draft wide receivers in the first round? Man, they find those guys in rounds 2 through 6, don't they? They always find really good wide receivers in latter rounds. I got Newton, the other defensive tackle, going to Miami. They got to get more physical in Miami. I got Chop Robinson going to the Eagles at 22. I'm going to hang there unless they move up for Verse. To me, if they move up for Verse, okay, Verse could be a player. God, you'd have 2 Florida State ends. They've got to replace Brandon Graham. Milton Williams is not, because then get this. Here's what you do. Do you understand that if you draft Jared Verse, say you move up to get him, you're probably going to have to move up to like 13 or 14, somewhere in there. Do you understand? You can then move Milton back inside, and there's your depth at the 2-tackle rotation. Because I think you're going to need a DT. Because I'm not waiting around for Jordan Davis. I'm not waiting around for him. I can't do it. If I'm Vic, I'm not waiting around for him. I'm just not waiting around. If he does it, get this. Fantastic. Great. Milton turned out to be a good player, and he's been a backup. And get this, Milton Williams has not lost his value as a third-round pick, and he's never really started. Cody goes, so Davis is a bust? No. He's just not performing at the level that I need him to perform at. I think he's solid. 13th pick, he's a bust. Is he an NFL player? He's a solid player. He's not exceptional. He's not an exceptional player. Exceptional is the 13th pick. I'm not ready to go bust yet. Now, I also want to see him in a 34. I want to see him in a 34. The fact that they leaked rumors is centered on cornerback tells me Howie quietly looking at moving up for an edge rusher or an O-lineman. Absolutely. Brother must be a hockey fan because that's the hockey mentality. Upper body extremity injury. When you know he got an ankle injury or a knee injury or a foot injury. You're trying to keep it as far away as the truth on what you're trying to do right now. Absolutely. Don't believe anything right now. Now, I do believe Mouthpiece Eskin when it comes to the contract extension for Brown. But remember, right now we're inside the 12 hours. You're seeing teams are now starting to jockey. You know, when you watch a NASCAR race or you watch an F1 race and you see all the cars now, and it's the final 10, 15 laps of a race, and everyone's looking for a partner to run with, and everyone's looking for someone to draft with. That's exactly what the NFL draft is completely all about. You want to get 2 or 3 or 4 teams that are in line with you on what you're looking to do that align with what your objectives are and your needs are, and you want to go into it. Because one thing LJ said in here that is right. You're sitting at 22 with no accountability of what your pick is going to be, no understanding of who that guy's going to be until 5 minutes or 10 minutes before your pick. You have no idea right now, sitting at 22, who you're taking. You have a collection of guys. It's like pulling a name out of a hat. But what you do is you put your own chips in, and you're at the, you're at the drafts, like, where they're going with it. You have no idea unless you trade up. And then you kind of control your own destiny a little, but still you don't. There's only one team that controls their own destiny. That's the Chicago Bears. And they probably control it more so than a lot of teams because they got 2 picks in the top 10. They got 1 and 9. Can you imagine if you traded that first-round pick and you traded it to Minnesota and you got 3 1s in the first round and you're Chicago? Or you traded it to Washington, or you traded it to New England, and New England got the overall number 1 pick, and you dropped down to 3. You'd have 3, 9, and you'd have 3 and 9, and you'd have another one probably next year, a first rounder, for you to be able to move like that. Or collect a couple second rounders in this year's draft. I mean, to me, I think Jaden Daniels, I'm okay with getting Jaden Daniels. If I'm Chicago, Caleb Williams, he's the sexier name, but is he the better player? I don't know. Senor brings a point up. That kid Poyer, who played up in Buffalo, they drafted him in the second round and didn't know how to use him. Hey, Senor, what happened with Rasul Douglas? What happened with him? He got a contract extension in Green Bay. What happened to him? How come he didn't pan out when he was in Philadelphia? What happened to that guy? So Poyer and Rasul Douglas absolutely were drafted by you guys, but you didn't do anything with those guys, and those guys went on to get contract extensions, and those guys went on to get deals. Shit, Douglas, I thought, may have made a Pro Bowl team. Were you not able to develop him? Well, I'll tell you what, Dave, double move Douglas, he got a contract extension in Green Bay. Douglas went to the Packers, then the Bills traded for him. Douglas is with the Bills now. I think I knew that now. He's up there with Chicago. But hey, Senor, they gave him a contract deal, and they extended him in Green Bay. Then they moved him. I mean, hey, 304, if you're in here, I still think you're going to get the kid Jackson Powers Johnson, the old lineman from Oregon. I think you're getting him. Graham Barton, I think, goes to Green Bay. They need OTs. Darius Robinson, edge, Tampa Bay. Bucks need an edge. They lost both of them. Kamir Lassiter, Arizona. Am I right when I say this? Arizona's got 2 picks. Arizona's got 2 first-round picks and 11 total. They're going to be good, man. There's no question Buffalo's drafting a wideout. Keon Coleman, I think, is going to go somewhere in the first round, the FSU wideout. Kool-Aid's going to go. And I do think that Kansas City's either going to take that fast kid Worthy from Texas or an O-lineman. That's how I see that draft playing out here. Again, I have my favorite 5, and I'd be okay with them. I think they're targeting an edge. You know why? They really haven't said a lot about it. And they've been talking corner, potential Bowers. All of a sudden hey, do you notice? Maybe we draft a wideout. Maybe we take Bowers. Maybe we take the replacement for Lane. Is there a possibility that we do that wide receiver thing? No one's really said anything about an edge rusher, which they desperately need. If you want your secondary to get back to where it was in 22, you got to get pressure on the quarterback again. You traded away your best pass rusher, and you're relying on a kid who you don't know if he can deliver a second year in a row, where you had a guy who gave you 4 years in a row of consistent pressure on the quarterback. It's not just so much you got rid of Hassan Reddick's sack numbers. You got rid of his pressure and his presence. Hassan Reddick, I have never seen anybody outside of Reggie White, Lawrence Taylor, Derek Thomas, maybe not so much Derek Thomas, destroy a conference championship game on defense the way Reddick did. He destroyed a conference championship game. I mean, if you're San Francisco, this last year you were good. I thought the year before you were better. Huff has never been in a position like that. Reddick was a weapon, albeit deficiencies, but he was a weapon, and you got nothing in return for 3 drafts. Don't be shocked if that rugby kid, Kansas City signed, starts making noise. Yeah, there's a couple of the kids, too, that are going to get signed that are some rugby dudes, too, as well. You told us to trade Reddick and said he wasn't good. No, that's not what I said. Once again, I told you if you're going to trade Hassan Reddick, he's not a $25 million a year guy. Upgrade the position. You're going to want to get a guy who can cover. You're going to want to get a guy who's a better tackler, and you're not going to want a guy who's a one-trick pony. But what they did was they went out and got a lesser player that mimicked exactly all those skill sets that Reddick had. You didn't upgrade the position. You think Bryce Huff having 3 sacks, 2 sacks, 10 sacks is an upgrade from 11, 11 and a half, 16 and a half, and 11. You think that's an upgrade to that? And the guy's still 29 years old. Come on, guy. Wake up. Don't be a jackass. That guy Hassan Reddick has had almost as many sacks as that guy has had in his entire career in 1 year. Think about that. The 2022 season, he had 19 sacks. Bryce Huff in his entire career doesn't have 19 sacks. 1 year. Reddick had more sacks than that guy had in his 4-year career. I mean, don't get carried away here. Don't get carried away. Oh, Bryce Huff is an upgrade. Where? Nolan Smith is replacing Reddick. Once again, like I said, you didn't upgrade the position. Sills, Brian Baldinger has the Eagles picking Fuaga. Do you agree? You're not. I will not. Here. We're going to do something tonight as well, like for the draft. We're going to right here on JAKIB. And then tomorrow, 10. If they take an O-lineman, I'm not going to shit on that. They're really good players. They're good. I just showed you. 10 players are going to get drafted in the first round that are O-linemen. Do you know how hard it is to find a great OT? It's impossible. Ask the New York Giants. The Giants haven't drafted an offensive tackle, and the Eagles have 2 of them in 10 years. If you draft tomorrow or tonight one of these O-linemen, will it be sexy? No. I'm not shitting on that. The chances of that guy sucking are unbelievably high. The chances of Quinton Marshall sucking are exceptionally high. I mean, the year of the big uglies. That's right. Hey, Mike, you better jump on them guys. Okay? Khalid goes, today is overrated. Tomorrow's going to be better. Because, Khalid, is that because you think players fall in line with the best avail? Probably so. Fuaga is Talisi Fuaga is a great-looking ball player. By the way, you know what you love about him? He's 23. He's a COVID guy. What does that mean? Well, he was in a pro system with Coach Smith at Corvallis, which means this. He's been schooled, coached, and he's mature. Take a look at some of the ages of these guys. Most of them are COVID guys. To me, that means they got better schooling and better preparation coming out. Don't you understand? COVID affected. Don't you understand? COVID affected one position, OT. They stayed longer. They got better coaching. They got more practice time. They were in the portal. They went to places that coached them. COVID helped the O-line position. Look at the ages. Take a look at the ages. Watch this here. And by the way, I just threw that out there that Talisi Fuaga was 23. I thought I saw that. Let's go here. There ain't no 21-year-old lineman in here, I'll tell you that. How old is Talisi Fuaga? How old is Oregon State's Talisi Fuaga? He's 23. Most kids get drafted at 21. He's 24 years old. Most kids, I got drafted at 21. That's 3 years that he stayed in college. Boy, if I could, 24? Man, I mean, he's almost as old as Hurts. Take a look at all the draft picks at O-line. They're all 23, 22, 24. COVID, the pandemic helped them a lot. A lot. Milton Williams is solid. You said you liked him. I like him a lot, actually, and I like to move him back inside to be the swing tackle. Then you create your depth. You draft verse or chop. You get an edge rusher. Yeah, man. This is all contingent that they don't make a move for Surtain. 24, but he will have a longer career than Dan. Yeah, he will. He will. You know why? 70 people make the team today. When I played, 43 did. Shit, I'd like to have another team have an opportunity to make a roster when I was the last cut on 3 teams or 2 teams. You keep 70 guys, counting your practice roster. You get to keep 69 guys. Jesus. like a convention now. Edge or O-line all day or trade back. That to me, hey, Breed, when I hear, hey, maybe Howie is saying, hey, we're going to trade up, when actually he's going to trade down. That's the move. Trade down, get another 3, or get a 3. Here. Trade down, get a 3, maybe get another 2. I don't think there's exception except for the O-lineman in this draft. I heard the Eagles media guy that said they should draft an edge because it would hurt Nolan's feelings. Hey, Griffin, Nolan Smith won't be on that football team in a year, so they won't have to worry about him crying. They won't have to worry about it. Cosmo goes Surtain or nothing. No. I want to see what he does with it. Quinton Mitchell, in my opinion, is a massive gamble for an organization that traditionally fails with what you're trying to do, Freeze. Get this. Burns wants you to draft a position that's got a 64% fail rate. And Howie has almost 100% fail rate for a player who doesn't play big-time college football. He may turn out to be all pro. But what I'm looking for, hey, when you go, listen, guys, when you go to gamble, Freezer, when you go to gamble and you're playing blackjack, see, I want to play with one deck, not with 4 decks when you go to Vegas. Why? I'm trying to limit the odds of being beat. When you play with 4 decks, the chances of you winning big are not high. And plus, you're limiting the other guy's chances of beating you. I'm trying to limit the opportunity for me to be beaten. If you've got 12 aces in a deck, and you've got one ace, and you've got, say, a 9, you got 20. The chances that guy beating you are still high. Because he's got 11 aces to deal with. Not me, man. I'm trying to limit that. You're trying to, in this draft, limit failure. That's why, look at what Marvin Harrison did. Marvin Harrison is the antithesis of what the Eagles like. They probably hate the player. You know why? He didn't want anything to do with the combines. Had want nothing to do with it. Said, no way am I putting myself on display for somebody to start criticizing if I'm not fast enough or what have you. Why trade up to the Broncos pick to draft an unproven corner? I think it's an edge, Brandon, if they move up to do that. When you could snag Surtain and maybe have to give up one extra pick next year to give a proven star. That's what I would do. Brandon, I said this. I would take that 22nd pick and I would move up to, and I would take the 22nd pick and I would give it to New England with the 50th pick and give that to New England. New England would have the 22nd and the 50th pick, and you're probably going to have to load it up and give them something else, maybe a 4th. You send that pick to Denver, the 3rd pick, and probably your 50th pick. They send you back a 3rd-round pick or a 2nd for Surtain. You send them the 3rd pick and a 4th-round pick. I'm not giving up that 53 because I need that for my linebacker. You get Edgerrin Cooper and you get Patrick Surtain in one draft. You fill 2 needs right away. I mean, and you get guys who could play today. The only problem I have with Percy Wilson is there's some issues on health. And what some of you guys say, I get it. Cooper had some really good players that were in front of him. Okay? I'm going to do something now here. Actually, you know what? We're going to wait because we're going to get Meril Reese on with us at 3:30. And we're going to talk to him and what he sees tonight going on potentially in the NFL draft for the Eagles. Working on a contract extension for AJ. Look, all kidding aside, Peyton Wilson, thank you. All kidding aside, he's right. But he did have 2 years remaining on his contract. Kansas City held Tyreek Hill's feet to the fire, and when his contract came up, they moved him. They weren't going to pay him the money he wanted. And when he wanted it, with still years left, they moved him. Now, again, see, it's easier to move people when you have Patrick Mahomes. It's not easy to move people when you have Jalen Hurts. You understand that? I can't be moving off of good players when I have Jalen Hurts as my quarterback, who's in the middle of the road with the rest of the players in the league. He's in the middle of the road. He's not upper end. He's in the middle. Not bad, not horrible. He's in the middle. But when you have those guys that are up there at the top, you can move off of Diggs. You can move off of players that are good. When you're Hurts and Purdy, you can't. I do like Colson too, the kid from Michigan. Okay, the reason that the Eagles don't move off and they keep adding to their old offensive personnel is because the quarterback's not good enough to carry the roster. And at the end of the day, their actions speak to it. All the new they've done more money and put more money in the offensive side of the football this offseason than in the last 20 years. Am I wrong? They've put more money and done more work on that side of the football. And the side that melted down last year was your defense. Would you trade AJ to the Patriots for the third and Gonzalez, or would you rather just trade for J.C. Horn and Latimer? AJ, the third pick, the Patriots are not going to give up on Gonzalez. Absolutely would not. And AJ, again, these wide receivers, what wide receiver has been moved for a first round that's one of these high $25 million guys? Can you name one? Prior to getting their contract, because if you remember correctly, AJ wasn't making any money until the Eagles gave him the extension. He was making, I think, 14 or 13 million in Tennessee. He wasn't making $20 million in Tennessee. Who is the best off-the-ball linebacker in the draft as Cooper's gone before 50 and 53? That kid from Kentucky looks good. That kid from Kentucky's not bad. Played in the Southeastern Conference, had a whale of a ball game against Florida. He's a pretty good-looking player, man. I think I don't know what the negative was on him, because when you put his game film on, he's pretty good, man. He's a pretty good-looking football player. He's a good player, man. Are these guys high? Third pick and Gonzalez for AJ? Pats would never do that. They would never do that because AJ's not worth that. You don't trade those wide receivers for first-round picks. Stephon Diggs, nobody. Devontae Adams. Nobody gives up first-round draft choices for those guys. You give up first-round draft choices for corners and people that play in your secondary. Look at this. Snead didn't even get a 1. And he's the highest paid corner now in the league. You said they would get edge if moving up. Who is it? I got to think it's either Verse or Latu. I would say Verse or Latu. I would trade back as well. Smart move. Hey, spin. I happen to agree. By the way, at 3:30, Meril Reese is going to join us. Look, if they trade back, that means this. Let the best player fall to you. You trade up for one of these corners, Howie Roseman will not trade for a corner that will have impact this year. I don't think there's a guy in this draft that has that. How about corners in the second round? Any good players that can start? Now you're starting to talk about value. Remember the value chart that Jimmy put together? You get a value chart, you get a second. Hey, I think that kid Nate Wiggins, there's going to be so many good players that are going to drop down to you at 22. What did I just say to you guys? Look at this. Okay? Here, look at this. How many O-line? What? 5 quarterbacks. How many wideouts? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There's 6 wideouts. There's 11 players right there. How many O-linemen? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. That's 21 players in 3 positions. How many wideouts? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. The kid Worthy. 27 of 32 picks are wide receiver, offensive linemen, and quarterbacks. Why would you draft a corner in a draft that these corners, I don't know, and it's a failure rate of 64%? Are you really? And you're going to go to a school that's a non-Power 5. If he hits, wow. What do you think the chances of that guy being a Grand Slam are? 30%? Drafting is by far an art, especially when you are at the bottom of the draft. It is without a doubt one of the most important things you have to always understand when you're drafting down there. The word is patience, in my opinion. I think you have to have patience when you're down there because the best player can land. Hey, so you're going to draft, like here's the biggest mistake people make. They move up and they draft the second best offensive player or the third best edge rusher or whomever. That makes no sense to me ever. Now, sometimes it pans out. Deshaun Watson, Mitchell Trubisky, I get it. So tonight's going to be interesting. And for the record, I personally think when you start to hear some of the rumors going around, Jimmy Johnson says this to you, and we'll say this along with Bill Parcells all the time. The draft doesn't really start until right now, 12 hours prior to your pick. You have no, I asked Meril Reese, I'm going to bring him on here in a second. I ask Meril Reese this question all the time. Hey, what do you think the record's going to be? He goes, how do I know? It's April. Hey, what do you think the Eagles do at 22? How do I know? I don't know what the other 21 teams are going to do. You're kind of a slave to the players and picks in front of you until you understand what's in front of you. You have options. Let's go to a man who I admire so much. There's so much news going on, especially with the Birds. What's tonight like for you, Meril Reese?
It's fun. It's fun.
Meril, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Let's see if we can get reconnected here with our good friend here, Meril Reese.
Oh, see you.
Let's see if we can get reconnected here. The GOAT, absolutely. When you put GOAT conversation in conversation here, he's there, Dan. Okay, let's go here. Let's go to Meril here. Meril.
Hi.
How you doing, my friend?
Great, Dan.
Yeah, I don't see him.
I see you.
Nor do I hear him. Yeah, let's just see if we can reconnect again. I can't. Maybe I'm going to have to take a timeout because I can't hear or see him. What do you think I do, Xander? Should I take a timeout here? Meril's good. I can't hear or see him. Yeah, okay. Let's take a timeout. Try to reconnect. We'll get with our friend Meril Reese. Keep it here, National Football Show.
Field of life, First Trust Bank is there for you. Champions on 3. 1, 2, 3.
Because Philadelphia dreams deserve a Philadelphia bank.
Heading down the shore. Have a ball once more.
Here, imaginations run wild and time stands still. Because here, you can find the best of the Jersey Shore, all on one 5-mile island. So leave the old you behind and get lost in the woods.
Wild, wild, wildwood days.
Plan your stay in the Wildwoods today.
Hi, I'm Jim Muehlbronner, Managing Partner at Del Val Insurance Group. Give us a call. We're a local, knowledgeable agency, not an 800 number. Go Birds!
The greatest fans on earth. It's a bold statement, but would you expect anything less from Philadelphia? 58 years of heartache creates a toughness, a grit, a resolve not found in most. Sure, our prayers were answered, but now that we've had a taste, we're looking for more. Pondley Hockey, official partner of the Philadelphia Eagles.
EAGLES, Eagles.
No one would ever accuse Big Sills of being a technological sound guy or anything like that. So let me quickly go to my friend Meril Reese as we get ready for the draft tonight. My friend, thank you for doing this.
Hi, do you hear me?
I got you loud and clear now.
Good.
What's tonight mean to you,
Earlier.
something like this, when you see the draft for the Eagles?
It's fun. I love tonight. I really do. I enjoy the draft. Of course, my job doesn't depend on the draft, fortunately, but I think it's interesting. I love to look at my lad's guide to the NFL draft and watch all the shows. And I watch a lot of college football, Dan, so that makes it meaningful to me.
I got to show you something. I got this from the city of Brooksville, and I got some of the players that signed it. I got Andre Waters, Jerome, Seth, Clyde Simmons signed it. Jim Johnson even signed it. And a couple of my teammates, Mark Carrier. This is an old golf hole advertising in Brooksville for the tournament. And here's the Eagles that showed up this particular year. And this, I'm going to tie this into the draft here. Clyde Simmons, Seth Joyner, Andre Waters, Keith Jackson were just some of the people that showed up to that event. It must be fun, Meril, taking a look at the draft like tonight, welcoming in the new Eagle guys.
Oh, it is. It is. I look forward to it every year. But it's very difficult, as you've said, to have a feel for what's going on when your team is 22. When your team is top 10 or maybe 11, you can pretty much figure out who 8 or 9 of those 11 players are going to be and where they're going to drop and where the Eagles potentially could trade up if they had to. But when you're standing at 22, I don't care what anybody says, it's really difficult to come close to pinpointing. You can get lucky and you can name positions and areas, but it's really tough to tell what's going to happen 5 hours from now.
How about this, Meril? I'll get back to the draft in a second. And I saw this kid, St. Brown, sign this contract that's going to average $30 million. I want to show you something on what Devontae Smith did with grass not being greener on the other side and kind of pulling a Cooper Kupp because Kupp took a pay cut. His contract already is outdated. That guy's going to make in essence of $30 million a year. The average that Devontae is going to make is 18.4. So over the 3 years, he's putting $36 million on the table because he wanted to be an Eagle. He liked being in the organization. He believes in their future. I think that says a ton about the young man, about the organization, about how they look at him, and how he looks at the Eagles. I mean, 1 week, he's already, the deal's outdated. It's amazing for him to have done something like that without CeeDee Lamb and without Justin Jefferson having their deals done.
Well, he does love the Eagles, and it is a wonderful organization. It really is.
I mean, I think that looks at it really front and center there with what this kid did. All right, let's go here. If you know what, you covering the team, watching the team, not that you have any insight in it, but from what you saw, is there a position that you would like to see them address tonight? Is there something that you think would make this football team better next year, starting in 24?
Yeah, I think so. I think that they have to address now, again, all things being equal, because I think the biggest need right now for this team is corner. They need help in the secondary. But if they are unable to move into the spot where they believe they can draft a first-round talent, a legitimate first-round talent at corner, don't take the position just to fill a need. If for example, there is a great offensive lineman, and this is a deep draft at offensive lineman there, if they can pick somebody who they think can be the next Lane Johnson, don't let them pass.
How about this too? I was pointing this out to people, and you're dead on with the old lineman. They're projecting tonight that maybe 10 offensive linemen, with the kid Guyton from Oklahoma, where Lane did go, could go in that draft. Think about that for a second. There's 32 picks, 10 are O linemen, 5 quarterbacks are going to be taken, and 6 wideouts. Inside of 3 positions, Merrill, 21 players are going to be taken between the quarterbacks, wide receivers, and O linemen. Like you said, you got a couple corners in this draft. Boy, I got to tell you, there was a stat that came out, 64% failure rate when it comes to picking the cornerback position over the last dozen years.
Yeah.
Hardest position, along with quarterback, to evaluate. Me, I land on a position, Merrill, that is going to give me a chance of having an impact player.
See, now, the quarterback is out of the Eagles equation. But I will tell you what, I think the best, and I know the way that they're lining up, of course, with Williams and Daniels and, May and J.J. McCarthy. I guess those are the front 4. To me, to my eyes, the best quarterback in this draft is Michael Penix.
I saw RG3 break him down and how he looks people off with his eyes and how he sets people up. And it was pretty remarkable how he has adapted. And when you look at, especially a guy, and you know what? This is why I like him and Jaden Daniels. Because if you look at the journeys, like Jalen Hurts' journey, Merrill, they transferred. Jaden transferred from Arizona State to LSU, and Caleb transferred from Penix transferred from Indiana to Washington. And I actually like that. You go through the trials and tribulations, you experience success at a better program with better players around you, and it's a great teaching tool. So that's why I like those two guys too. I actually like Michael Penix.
I love him. And what I like the most is I used to get a real treat out of standing on the sideline during practice and watch Michael Vick throw. Because when Michael Vick threw, the ball actually made a sound. It hummed. I think Michael Penix Jr. is the greatest spinner of a football that I have seen since Michael Vick.
Wow. Great testament here. All right. Big year for the Georgia kids, don't you think, Merrill, here? I mean, Nolan Smith has to be counted on here now that Hassan Reddick has been moved to New York. Jordan Davis, and I said this to you last time, I think I want to see him in his 34 at the nose. I think that could change a lot of things about how people look at him a little bit. maybe more of a positive, because I think that's more of his natural position. And I just think, I just showed you the picture of Jerome Brown. I think that kid has an opportunity at being something close to something like that if he lives up to his potential. But a lot of pressure on those young kids and those young players that they've drafted the last 2 years.
Yeah, Jalen Carter too.
Yep. I mean, they've got it. If you think about it, now look, here's to what you just said too, Meril. Hey, when you got a good football team that's won 25 games, guys aren't just going to walk in and go, hey, I'm going to take that guy's gig. I mean, you're going to have to sit behind and you're going to have to learn. I mean, in your opinion right now, is the defense still a concern for you with some of the new faces and some of the things and expectations that people have to have? And should they concentrate on the defensive side in this draft?
No, I don't think so. I think they still have to pick the best player. I don't want to take a corner for the sake of taking a corner when there's an offensive lineman out there who is just better. Heck, I'll tell you something else, and this probably isn't going to happen, but let's just say Brock Bowers slid back to 16.
You did it.
But I'd love to see Howie move up and take Brock Bowers, because I think he is the next great thing. And I also believe that I love Dallas Goedert, but Dallas Goedert is 29 years old. Zach Ertz was 28 years old when they drafted Dallas Goedert. And even though I love Goddard, it's time to get more quality depth at that position. And in fact, you watch Bowers, he's kind of a flex tight end. Boy, what he would do in that offense.
He reminds me of Travis Kelce, and I'm going to show you something here. I put the list of the best players in the draft, not by position, but the best players. And at the top of my list, I got Brock Bowers sitting there. I think he's the best football player that's in the draft. And the reason I also say that he's probably going to make the biggest impact, Meril, because in today's NFL, that linebacker position, a lot of the teams around the league, it's not just an Eagle issue. I think it's an NFL issue. Very few teams have a great crew of linebackers in today's NFL. That's why that tight end position has become so prominent in the passing attacks. So you think if he's sitting there and say you move up to 14 and he's sitting there, you take him. I don't think you can pass him by either.
I don't. But on the other hand, he's so good. I say, why would he slide to 14?
Because of these old linemen.
Why would somebody let him slide to 14? There are going to be 5 players taken in the top 10 who don't turn out to be as good as Brock Bowers.
Absolutely.
And two or three of them might be quarterbacks.
Absolutely. Meril, I don't like this class except for two guys that I like in this class. And I try to explain this to a lot of folks. I think that's why sitting at 22 and maybe moving back, not up, because I just showed you 21 players are going to be drafted between wide receiver, O-lineman, and quarterbacks. That's why the good players are going to fall. It's not because they're bad. It's because a lot of look at the Jets. Meril, if the Jets are smart, you got a 41-year-old quarterback. Is Brock Bowers the answer, or is a left tackle the answer? Because you got to make sure your season's not imploded like it did last year because you don't have enough help for the guy. Joe Douglas is in a position where he's got to go like this. Hey, I got to protect the guy. I'd like the shiny toy. That's why I think some of these guys fall.
Yeah, and then teams sometimes get cute because they say, ooh, we've got him right here. But you know what? He's still going to be here 4 or 5 picks later. Let's move down a couple of notches. That once upon a time happened. Was it the 3rd round or the 4th round where the Eagles wanted to draft Russell Wilson? And they were sure that he would be there in the middle of that round. And of course, as you know, he ended up in Seattle. So they were forced to pick Nick Foles. Now, we know that Nick Foles didn't turn out to be Russell Wilson, but Nick Foles is the single most responsible person or player for the Eagles owning the Lombardi Trophy.
Well, between the Rocky statue and the full statue, I think you're kind of I think they're symbolic of one another, don't you, Merrill?
I think Dick is a great guy. I just saw someplace that he won a pickleball championship.
That doesn't shock me. The people in Arizona where my kid goes to school told me that this guy was like a freak athlete out there, and he played basketball and everything. So he was a really great athlete. That doesn't.
He went to the same high school as Drew Brees.
That's crazy. That's crazy great here. Hey, what do you make of? Get this. So AJ Brown, okay, he now signs, or he's going to. Now they're working on a potential contract extension to try to keep him in the building for the length of whatever time they have together between Devontae and him. What's your take on that? And what's the take? Do you mind some of the drama that he brings?
No, I think he's a good guy. And I think he and Devontae and Jalen all get along. I mean, there's stuff that happens in every locker room, I'm sure. But he is not T.O. He's not that. T.O. destroyed a locker room. That's not AJ. AJ had a sign in his locker last year that everyone made a big deal of. The sign said, "I'm always open." I think there was a little bit of a blink of the eye there and having some fun. But I think he's a good guy, and I think Devontae's a good guy, and I think Jalen's a good guy. It's not a bad locker room, Dan.
In your opinion, who are you more excited to see what he does on what side of the ball, Kellen Moore or Vic Fangio?
Kellen Moore.
Why?
Because I just think he and Jalen are going to be a perfect combination. He will bring the most out of Jalen. Although I'm not minimizing the effect of Vic Fangio either, because he is an outstanding, top quality coach. I just get a little more excited about an offense that I think really underperformed last year and is capable of really blowing away some teams this year if everybody's on the same page. I think they have the talent. I think that Cam Jurgens will move in, and no, he's not going to be Jason Kelsey from day one, but he is a quality NFL center. So I think they're good. Again, the one wild card, and that is with all of this, and it probably has the same effect on all 32 teams. If you lose the wrong three players at the wrong part of the season, anything can happen. Anything can happen. But again, injuries aside, this team shouldn't be a team that finishes the season in the most embarrassing fashion. A team that before our eyes disintegrated from the 12th game on. I mean, they were 10-1 and absolutely fell on their faces for the rest of the season.
A couple last comments here for you. And there's no question tonight, Frank Sinatra / Howie Roseman takes the stage tonight. This is like a big moment for him. And this is what he does. And this is kind of like his time of the year to shine. I mean, right? This is what he likes. This is the stuff that he likes, is team building.
And he generally does it very well.
And, we're going to see what he does. I'll tell you what, Merrill, he has to address, in my opinion, that defensive side of the football. Well, I still think he has to really address that side. And I'm looking at an edge rusher, the kid from Penn State or that kid Latu from UCLA. Or Verse.
Chop Robinson?
Yeah, Chop Robinson. I love the kid. To me, here were my five, Merrill. It's funny you said Brock. That's really great, because I said my five guys were Brock Bowers, Jared Verse, Chop Robinson, Talisi Fuaga, and Teron Arnold. Those were my final five. Well, if the Eagles land on those, I'm good with them.
Let me ask you about another name that has come up, and a player who maybe would be there if they don't move at 22. How about Cooper DeJean?
Iowa has done a great job with Kirk Ferentz up there and producing NFL guys and NFL talent on both the offense, especially it's become tight end you when you're talking about the Iowa Hawkeyes. And when you watch him on film, at first I wasn't a fan, but when you watch him on film, I'll tell you what he's a lot like. He has a lot of athleticism. He's got great hips. I'll tell you what he does too. He's got a little Darrelle Revis of a technique where he hoards you to the sideline and uses the sideline as another defender. So what he does well is that he may not have the insane speed. He's not slow in any way. He's not slow at all, but he may be the more physical of all the corners that are in this draft.
Now,
the
corner you didn't mention, and I think the Eagles would love him, but I think he would be too much of a jump to go up and get, is Quinyon Mitchell.
My only problem with him, and by the way, I read the story. He felt loyal to the head coach. He loved the way he was coached. He had numerous nil offers to join, like LSU, Florida. All those schools came calling, and he said no. He did a great job at the Senior Bowl, and he did a great job against Marvin Harrison Jr. My only problem with that, though, is this, just like the Carson Wentz stuff a little bit here, Merrill. So you line up once a year against the best player at that position in the country, and if you're Teron Arnold, you're lining up against Devontae Smith, Jerry Jeudy, all those great wide receivers, Jameson Williams, and you're doing that in practice and in the Southeastern Conference, and you're doing that on a weekly basis.
Mm-hmm.
So to me, when you're in the Mid-America Conference and you're at Toledo and you're lining up against Ohio University, Central Michigan, and Cincinnati, Sauce Gardner came from there, so I get it. But to me, it's a gamble. Could he be a superstar? His metrics say yes. But again, I like people who have played in major competition.
Dan, did you ever hear of a player, and I know I'm going back 100 years, but a Dick Vermeil #1 draft choice by the name of Roynell Young?
Absolutely. Was he a UCLA kid?
Alcorn State.
Alcorn State.
And
but Merrill, here's the difference between then and now, though. Because of the transfer portal, these kids at these smaller schools like Darrell Green at Texas A&I, he's not staying there anymore. He's going to Texas A&M because of money now, and the kids are being paid. Like, you're not going to find Terry Bradshaw any longer at Louisiana Tech. He's going to be at LSU. So that's why today, back in my time, finding a guy like Darrell Green or finding a guy like Steve McNair at a different school, that was more of something that you had to do more of your due diligence. All the good players now are going to the places they get paid now. And that's the difference in college football. It's harder now, but it's easier if you're an NFL guy because you know where they are. You're in the SEC and Big Ten.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. You're right. I mean, I've seen a lot of great corners come through here. One, it's a crime that he's not in the Hall of Fame because he went to 6 Pro Bowls, and that's Eric Allen.
But I still don't get that where you look at Leroy Butler, and I told you, Merrill, I'm on those panels, and when they brought Leroy Butler's name up as a defensive back, I went, that guy's not a Hall of Famer. I go, he was a really good football player, and I'm not taking anything away from him, and it's not FSU Miami bias. All I'm saying is that, hey, he's a good player, but Eric Allen was a game-changing football player.
Absolutely.
On that team. And, I mean, you're talking about one of the better guys in his decade, in his generation. I could make another argument for you, too. Maybe the most overshadowed player in the history of the Eagles in your broadcasting career might be the defensive end that you had on the other side of Reggie. I mean, Clyde Simmons, in my opinion, was one of the great game-changing guys.
Oh, he was.
We had Harvey Martin and Ed Jones. Ed was always overshadowed by Randy White and Harvey. I think you got a little bit of that there, too, with Clyde, because Clyde was a hell of a player.
Yeah. Yeah, well, look, I've seen guys come through here that I said, well, they're in the Hall of Fame, and yet they're not, like Bill Bergey. Bill Bergey was a dominating linebacker, a great, great player. and he's not in the Hall of Fame. And my partner in the broadcast booth was as good as any wide receiver out there. Maybe he got hurt and played too few years. He played 10 years. Mike Quick could just play with anybody.
I'm going to ask you this last question, and I'm going to make it the last question because it's going to be maybe the hardest question I've ever asked. And please do me a favor. Do not run for mayor of Philly with this question here. Mike Quick, if he had to draft a wide receiver, would it be A.J. Brown or Devontae Smith?
Ooh, I hate but see, here's why I'm not trying to be mayor of Philly, because they're both great, but they're different and they're complementary. Devontae Smith is the most amazing body control I've ever seen. Nobody can get his feet in bounds from some of the angles that he conjures up to make it a legitimate catch. And he can stretch and he can contort and do all of those things. A.J. Smith is power personified. He can outbattle anybody for a ball. He is so strong. So I'd love to give you an answer, but I'd have to say both.
I got one more for you then. Wait a minute. You're not getting off the hook. I get one more then.
Okay.
Meril Reese. If you had 60 minutes of football to win one game, would you take Randall Cunningham if things were even, or Jalen Hurts?
Okay. How about if I answered it this way? Okay. In his third year as a starter, I would have picked Jalen Hurts. But I picked him as did you say Randall Cunningham?
Randall.
Oh, you didn't say Donovan McNabb. You said Randall.
No, I didn't say no, because I think Randall's better than McNabb.
Oh no, but that's another.
No,
story. No. I love Randall. He's more exciting. He's more exciting than everyone but Patrick Mahomes. More exciting. Buddy Ryan used to say, "Go make 3 great plays a day." Randall was wonderful, but he was never what you would call a student of the game. He let his great natural talent. When did Randall have his greatest year? When?
Early.
He was in Minnesota, and Brian
right.
Jones, offensive coordinator. When was he best here? Before his coordinator or his quarterback coach, Doug Scoville, died suddenly of a heart attack. And then was Randall, Buddy just worried about the defense and said to Randall, make 3 big plays a game. But Jalen Hurts is a student of the game. Jalen Hurts is so dedicated. First person in the locker room. Randall was, he left in the second half of a preseason game to go to Whitney Houston's birthday party. You know that.
I do know that. I have heard that story many times by some of the players that were on that team. So
Jalen Hurts couldn't find his way to that party.
So you gauge all the quarterbacks to McNabb then, right?
McNabb is the best quarterback in modern Eagles history. I don't want to go back to Norm Van Brocklin in 1960, but I'm talking about modern Eagles history. Ron Jaworski was terrific too. But if you look at the record book and all of the completions and touchdowns and this and that, it screams the name Donovan McNabb. Took them to 5 great NFC championship games.
Yeah, he was really. I'll tell you this. I'll let you go on this one here. My uncle, like you said, Norm Van Brocklin. This I told my uncle Andy Robustelli this. He goes like this. He goes. So who do you think is the best quarterback? Well, I started naming all the new guys, and he goes, "What about Johnny Unitas? And what about the Sammy Baugh and them guys?" And I go, "No. That was football when you rolled your helmet up and put it in your back pocket.
Yeah.
Not what we do today." And he used to get so mad at me.
Well, what I understand that because Johnny Unitas was amazing. But
He
see,
was.
that was a different era because Johnny Unitas was the offensive coordinator. Johnny Unitas called his plays. He directed his players. He ran the huddle. It's a different world today because the plays are shuttled in. It's a totally different responsibility. And that's what, but so you can't really compare the Unitases and the Van Brocklins with the guys of today. The guys of today are such amazingly fluid athletes. I mean, the way that Jalen Hurts could take off in an instant. But believe me, Jalen Hurts has the ability to just keep getting better and better and better. I really think the world of him.
Who personified Philly more? Concrete, Bednarik, Jason Kelsey. Those three men. And Tommy McDonald, those three men. Who do you think personified Philly more so with those three guys? Tommy McDonald, Chuck Bednarik, or Jason Kelsey?
You see, the world has changed. The world has changed. When he was there, it was certainly Chuck Bednarik. I mean, he was Concrete Charlie. He was tough. He was rugged. He didn't smile a whole lot.
No.
Jason Kelsey was great. Jason Kelsey was a tremendous center, but Jason Kelsey was also a great personality. I mean, Jason Kelsey would hug you, and everybody loved Jason Kelsey. Chuck Bednarik, he was the guy standing over Frank Gifford with the arms waving. And Tommy McDonald was an altogether different because Tommy McDonald could be clobbered, and he would only stay on the ground for 0.8 seconds because he would jump up and look at the defender who hit him and said, "I'm okay. You'd have to hit me harder than that to keep me down." So you're talking about three great guys, two of whom are in the Hall of Fame, and the third will be in the Hall of Fame just as soon as he's eligible.
When I got introduced to Bednarik through my uncle, he came up, man. I've never shaken a guy's hand who looked like a catcher's mitt. It was this. I mean, he grabbed my hand. He goes, "Come here, kid." And I met him in Jersey at this signing thing. My uncle took me over there. They're all signing Giant guys and Eagle guys because they was talking about the Packers winning the 60 title game. The Giants won the 56 championship game. And he goes, "Here's Chuck Bednarik." I'm like, holy cow. "Come here, kid." Man, that Paul grabbed my hand. I got a pretty big hand too. And this guy grabbed my hand, man. He swallowed. Then he looked at it. He goes, "Pretty big grip." I go, "Is that guy 65 years old?" He goes, "Yeah." I go, "He almost tore my arm off."
Yeah, he wanted to get more involved. Dick Vermeil came in to coach. So Dick Vermeil called him an associate coach and put him on the sideline, except when the Eagles were playing the Cowboys in Dallas. Chuck went after an official and started screaming, got the Eagles a 15-yard penalty, and Chuck never graced the sideline again.
That's the way you end an interview right there. Should be pretty exciting tonight. Meril, thank you so much. I can't wait to see what the Birds do tonight. 22, do they move up? Do they move down? Do they make a trade?
Probably up.
Probably up, knowing the rock star GM. Absolutely. Thank you so much, Meril.
Thanks, Dan. Always fun being on with you.
You bet. That is Meril Reese. I really enjoyed that a lot, man. Absolutely great stuff there. Absolutely. Well, we'll see what they do tonight, man. Finally got connected. Hey, I'm sorry. Hey, Steven. Bednarik is my guy. Man, I used to get that guy on in Tampa, all them Eagle fans down there in Tampa. Don't forget, Philly 500 will join us also at 4:30 Eastern time, and then we'll have Jason give us a national perspective. Man, I can't tell you how many times. I have an old book that had all the phone numbers in it, too. I may still even have Bednarik's cell phone number. No, not but his home phone number back in the day. He was so fun to get on. I told that guy, oh, he was a riot, man. One of my favorite people of all time. All right. I'm going to go through the draft. When we come back out of the timeout, we're going to go through 32 needs on these teams. And we're going to do that. We're going to do it next. Do me a favor. Hit the like button. Don't forget tomorrow, too, by the way, 10 a.m. Eastern, we're going to be doing a show, an hour show, that's going to have some reaction. And tonight we're going to do some work prior to the Eagles making their pick. If they move up, we'll be on sooner. So stay tuned for that. Only place you can catch Big Sills will be right here on JAKIB Sports. So hit the like button. Keep it here, National Football Show.
They're carving them up and good play calling along the way. First and goal at the 6.
On the field of life, First Trust Bank is there for you
Champions on 3. 1, 2, 3.
because Philadelphia dreams deserve a Philadelphia bank.
Heading down the shore. Have a ball once more.
Here, imaginations run wild and time stands still. Because here, you can find the best of the Jersey Shore, all on one 5-mile island. So leave the old you behind and get lost in the woods.
Wild, wild, wildwood day.
Plan your stay in the Wildwoods today.
Hi, I'm Jim Muehlbronner, Managing Partner at Delval Insurance Group. Give us a call. We're a local, knowledgeable agency, not an 800 number. Go Birds!
The greatest fans on earth. It's a bold statement, but would you expect anything less from Philadelphia? 58 years of heartache creates a toughness, a grit, a resolve not found in most. Sure, our prayers were answered, but now that we've had a taste, we're looking for more. Pondley Hockey, official partner of the Philadelphia Eagles.
EAGLES. Eagles.
Big Sills National Football Show. How many people believe that this program has some of the greatest connections? Former players, general managers, celebrities, entertainers. How many people believe that? You want to see one of my secrets? Do you guys want to see one of the secrets to the show? Actually, it's a secret that's been around my show for 30 years. Do you want to see some of them? Here's one of them. This is an older book of mine. That says on it, NFL Retired Members Business Directory. You want to see something? Those are all phone numbers and cell phones. Would you like to see this one? There's Charles Bednarik. So this is an older one. Wife Emma. What you got to do? There's old Chuck. Lived in Coopersburg, PA. And look at all these names. Look at his Xander. You want to know? These are all retired and current NFL players. And the NFL Players Association gives us this. That's why PR people hate me. You think I need a PR? Hey, Xander, you think I need a PR guy to get me an interview? Let's see, Bill Berge. Berge's got to be in here. No, I can't do that because Bill's still kicking. So I can't give you his. I can't show you his. Here he is, William Berge. Chad's Ford, Pennsylvania. Yorktown Golf Club. He owns a golf course. Berge's Yorktown Golf Club. His wife's name is Mickey. They even give me his address. William Berge, Cincinnati and Philly. Bang. Current? You want Brett? Oh, current. Let's see. Current. Can't do the current. Can't do the current ones. Can't do the current ones. All right. Hey, Philly 500. The Players Association would come down on me if I start barking out current players' cell phone numbers. That might not work. That might not work. Forte goes Stalker's Guide. No. LJ and you have it. Okay. By the way, I'm going to let Philly. Xander goes, let him talk more. So I will. How you doing? All right. We're going to go. Hey, this shit way too easy. Hey, Flexin, I got you here. All right. I wrote down needs. And I'm going to start with the Eagles and not the Bears here. Okay? Remind me to never tell this guy a secret. There's no secrets on this show or unnamed sources. That's Bob Lang and the Eagle PR department. Sorry, I didn't mean to out a guy. Oh, now I know why people love Big Sil so much. Hey, you know, it's got to be part of my personality, don't you think, Xander? I could just see Xander right now in the background going, my God. Come on, man. Why do you make my life harder, man? Come on, man. Agreed, Baldy. Here we go. All right. Tonight's draft for the Philadelphia Eagles. This is what you need to do. Corner is a need. Linebacker's a need. Safety's a need. OT. Guard. Wide receiver. Tight end. Does it have GM and owner numbers? Only it had Richardson's number, Bald Eagle, because of he played. It only has former players and current players. Safety for depth. Why, do you think you have good safeties? Joe thinks you have good safeties. I don't. I don't think you have good safeties. Personally, I think you have suspect corners. I think you have no linebackers whatsoever. Your safeties are suspect. Okay, Joe. OT, it's what you guys do great. And it's the best position in the draft. Guard, not really high on guards in this draft. You really want to take an OT and turn him into a right guard? I don't know. Wide receiver, I think you're still looking for a slot wideout, right? And I think you need depth at tight end. And again, the whole Bowers thing is very intriguing. So let's take a look at this. And I'm going to give you tonight, as you're going to be part of 90 million people that are going to watch the NFL draft. I've done a lot of homework on this. And I'm going to go down through the list of what teams and for you to take a look at. And by the way, just to show you, I wrote down a couple days ago the 32 best players that in my opinion, that are in this draft for tonight. Now, here's something here. Check it out. And we're going to go like this. We're going to cross-check them. I'm going to show you how easy it is for the Bears tonight to fail. You ready? This is how the Bears fail and why they fail all the time. The Chicago Bears, their needs, in order: quarterback, edge, defensive tackle, wide receiver, guard center, interior of the O-line, linebacker, and safety. They're taking a quarterback. Do you know who the highest graded quarterback is, according to me and others? It's Jaden Daniels at 10. They're taking the 10th best player in the draft. And the guy they're going to draft tonight, Caleb Williams, is the 13th best player. The chances of them hitting on Caleb Williams when he's the 13th best player, when you look at edge, the best edge rusher is the 9th in Jared Verse. Defensive tackle is Byron Murphy. He's 14. He almost has the same grade as Caleb Williams. Wide receiver, I'd feel better if the Bears drafted Marvin Harrison, but they got 2 wideouts, so they're pretty comfortable there. Then the Talisi Fuaga makes more sense. But they're going to take the 13th best player in the draft and select them number 1 overall. That's how you fail. Let's see how this pans out for Philly. Okay? Washington, quarterback, OT, edge, cornerback, wide receiver, safety, linebacker, guard, and center. What are they going to do? Washington's going to take Jaden Daniels, who I just told you is the 10th best player in this draft. Not awful. Top 10 pick. Okay. You know, it's a massive need. Okay. They pass on Talisi Fuaga, who's the 4th best player. They'll pass on Jared Verse, who's the 9th best player. They'll pass on the 3rd best player in Malik Neighbors. They'll pass on the best O-lineman that you could play at multiple positions in Joe Alt at 6. Linebackers are not in the first round, and nor are safety, so they're okay there. But once again, they're going to pass on players that are better because the quarterback position is a better need. Again, of course you're confused, Mr. Perez, because you're a low-browed thinking human. You have no brains because you can't follow along. That's why you'd be drafted. No, you'd be a UDFA, undraftable free agent. You know why? Because you can't read a playbook, because you're a dumbass. That's why you're a scout team guy. Okay? You can't, there's not a person in here but you, lowbrow thinker, that is not following along with me on what I just said. Common sense, son. Or take your aluminum foil hat off and maybe you can connect a little more. Okay? Or go back to your room with your dunce hat. I really can't help that. You can't follow along. Boy, that's a guy that when you have to go through cones, What you have to do is letter them. A, B, C, D. Go to A, go to B, go to C. Way to play along, Perez. He gives me shit. I mean, come on, he attacked my daughter. I don't, hey, nothing phases me. You have to worry about that. Dan sounds like my dad. Shut up, Steve. Okay, here's New England. All fair game. That's right, Flexen. New England, quarterback. OT, wide receiver, cornerback, wide receiver, linebacker, D-line, and tight end. So I'm here to help Mr. Perez out so we can all follow along. Here is the top 32 best players in the draft. The Patriots are going to draft Drake May. Okay? Drake May is ranked, according to Bledsoe, the scouting service that the league uses. Here he is. 16th best player. Drake May is the 16th best player in this draft. New England's taking him 3. Wow. And they're going to pass on Talisi Fuaga, who's the 4th best and best O-lineman. That's how you fail at the I'm showing you how you fail at the top of the draft. Okay? Here's the next guys. Arizona. Let me show you what they're doing and why Arizona is going to be a team. Thank you, Perez. Hey, this is why Arizona, remember I said this, Xander, is going to be a surprise team. Their number one need is wide receiver. Second is edge, D-line, corner, running back, OG, center, linebacker, all in order. They're going to take at 4 Marvin Harrison Jr., who's rated the 2nd best player in the draft. That player is landing in the right place at the right time with the right need. Arizona gets the best pick so far in the draft. You get it? Are we following along here? Arizona's made the best pick, giving them the least chance of failure, the biggest need, and the highest rated player. You're going to see? That's a phenomenal place to be if you're Arizona. That's why that pick right there, I personally don't think the draft begins until the Arizona pick. Because the first 3 picks are going to be quarterbacks. They're going to get the 2nd best in the draft with the 4th pick. That's fantastic. Here's the Chargers. Wide receiver, edge, D-line, cornerback, running back, OG, and linebacker. Now, here's where it gets tricky because Malik Neighbors is right there with Odunze and also with Marvin Harrison. It's really a coin flip. It's the highest graded position that's going to be tonight. So the Chargers are going to pick number 5. And Malik Neighbors is the 3rd best player in this draft. Another great pick for a team that needs weapons. Malik Neighbors fits the Chargers. That's another good pick. This is if you follow along here, I'm telling you how the draft is going to play out unless there's trades. Unless there's trades tonight. The New York Giants, wide receiver, OG center, running back, linebacker, safety, corner, and here's why I put quarterback last. You just gave this guy a contract extension. You can't move this guy for 2 more years. You're tied to this guy like an anchor. You're not going anywhere. The cap hits would be devastating to your cap. You're tied to Daniel Jones for at least 2 more years. So get him a wideout. And the Giants are picking at 6. The 6th best player is Joe Alt, who they should draft. But they'll go Roma Odunze. Now, this isn't terrible. They're picking 6th, right? Roma Odunze is rated the 8th best player. You know, that's you're nitpicking there. That's kind of in the same room. Not a horrible pick. The chances of him sucking are less. The chances of him being bad are not there. Tennessee, and this is where Barb calls in here. Okay, this is where Barb is right. Tennessee, OT, DL, edge, linebacker, OG safety, wideout, corner, tight end. The number 1 need is a tackle. At 7, Tennessee, Quinion Mitchell is 7. However, Joe Alt is the 6th best player in the draft. So Tennessee at 7 gets the 6th best player. Perfect. Tennessee fits perfect. The chances of failure are high. You're looking not to get in a position where you're reaching. Chicago and Washington and New England are massively reaching. And I'll show you why. Penix is a better safe pick. Okay? Here's the Jets. OT, wide receiver, tight end, running back, safety, wide receiver, and corner. They picked 10th. The 10th best player is Jaden Daniels. Talisi Fuaga, in my opinion, is the pick. But they'll take a wideout and they'll probably try to get Roma Odunze, something like that. But Roma Odunze, I think, I said, goes to the Giants. So then they go down to Brian Thomas if they take the wideout. He's the 15th best player. That's a little out of the 10th pick. You see how teams miss? You see how teams miss when you get too far away from the evaluation. Minnesota, quarterback. Well, Minnesota is picking at 11. They got D-line needs. They got interior O-line needs. They got wide receiver needs, depending on what they do with Jefferson. They got edge needs. They got cornerback and D-line and depth issues. But they need a quarterback. Everyone knows it, right? They're picking 11. The 11th best player in this draft is Teron Arnold. They're going to take a quarterback and most likely try to get this guy, J.J. McCarthy. J.J. McCarthy is not on my top 32. He's not on my top 32. Minnesota's taking the biggest gamble in this draft if they draft McCarthy. I mean, even at 11. That guy's a 5th rounder at best. You're gambling with a first-round selection. Did I tell you? How about this one, too? Think about this. I showed you this yesterday. 21. In the 2021 draft, 4 of the top and first-round picks, 4 of the 5 first-round picks in 21 were traded recently for third-day NFL draft picks, 6th and 7th rounders for future picks. Means they were 7th rounders. Like Justin Fields is a 6th rounder. You're telling me a guy who was drafted that high, his value went from being in the top 5 picks of the draft to being a 6th rounder? That's pick like 300. From the 2nd pick to or 3rd pick, whatever he was, to pick 300? Wow. That's why these quarterbacks are blowing this draft up tonight. Denver, quarterback they need. Next, D-line, cornerback, safety, interior line. But they need a quarterback. They pick at 12. Okay? The 12th best player is Latu, the UCLA edge. Will they pick him? If they pick him, that's their 2nd biggest need. That's how you start. Once you start moving down this draft, you can't start taking the 3rd and 4th best player at that position unless the grades are close. You following along here? You could pretty much, I'm pretty much right around on the draft. A couple players here or there, but when it comes to player ranking, I may not get the team right, but I'll get the player ranking right. Look at the Raiders. Raiders need a quarterback. They pick at 13. 13th best player is Caleb Williams. Like Caleb Williams, that would be a great pick for the Raiders. But you know what the Raiders will do? They'll end up taking Bo Nix, who's not even on my 32. He's not. Tonight, I can't wait to see what goes down here tonight. I really can't. I mean, what will the Eagles do? Now, again, here's one thing I'm going to say. And I think I've been reading online here about Philly 500. Before I bring him up, I think he's talking corner. But once again, there's a 64% failure rate at corner. Howie's never drafted one. So he is higher. He has a 70% chance of failing if he takes a corner tonight. Why? Because he has failed his entire selecting career. And the Eagles have been poor for 25 years. Lito Shepherd is the last guy they've taken that had any success. And in this draft, as I've been pointing out to you, 10 O-linemen will be taken in the 1st round, 6 wideouts, and 5 quarterbacks. That's 21 players. And if you add the 5 edge rushers, that's 27 players out of 32. What makes you think a guy from Toledo who played 1 game against Marvin Harrison in his entire career is going to be that selection? Let me read this before I bring up Billy. I'm trading back is in option. What about trading the Panthers for 22 for both 2nd rounds and J.C. Horn? Would that work? Thinking I like trading back. Let's bring in our friend Philly 500. He's probably going to go crazy here tonight. And let's see if we can bring our friend up here. I think we're having a little bit of issues here when it comes to connecting. Can you guys see him? Because I'm not seeing him again for whatever.
You don't see the baby face assassin?
Yeah, I'm not. This has got to be a little bit on my end here. So I may, Xander, I may have to take a small time out here and kind of do what I did the last time here to try to get Meril on. So let's take this time out here. We'll get Philly 500 on. Keep it here on the National Football Show.
field of life, First Trust Bank is there for you.
Champions on 3. 1, 2, 3.
Because Philadelphia dreams deserve a Philadelphia bank.
Heading down the shore. Have a ball once more.
Here, imaginations run wild and time stands still. Because here, you can find the best of the Jersey Shore, all on one 5-mile island. So leave the old you behind and get lost in the woods.
Wild, wild, wildwood days.
Plan your stay in the Wildwoods today.
Hi, I'm Jim Muehlbronner, Managing Partner at Del Valle Insurance Group. Give us a call. We're a local, knowledgeable agency, not an 800 number. Go Birds!
The greatest fans on earth. It's a bold statement, but would you expect anything less from Philadelphia? 58 years of heartache creates a toughness, a grit, a resolve not found in most. Sure, our prayers were answered, but now that we've had a taste, we're looking for more. Pondley Hockey, official partner of the Philadelphia Eagles.
EAGLES, Eagles.
Who am I? Who am I? I wanted to get more money. I want to get more money. Hey.
Sound like a cowboy.
Hold on. St.
that
Brown
must be
got
CD
$30 million a year. What about
that must be
AJ
CD Lamb?
Owens?
You must
I
be
mean,
talking about CD Lamb. Not
Where's
Hall of
my
Fame
contract
Owens.
extension? Come on, man.
You got it all wrong. You're right about A.J. Owens because he is going to be a Hall of Famer, like Terrell Owens, the Hall of Famer. Give that man a gold jacket. Get him extended. Why not? What are we doing?
Hey, no, he cried. He cried. He moaned, and he got his deal.
You want to see crying? Go look at Dallas. That's what we call crying. A.J. Brown's doing nothing wrong, man.
Did you see what Micah Parsons did? Micah Parsons today got pissed off because he was designated as a linebacker, not an edge rusher, and he lost $2.5 million on his 5th-year option, and he's filing a grievance with the union because he got jobbed on the deal.
I said in a video yesterday, I said the first step was when they picked up his option, that was the first step getting closer to Micah Parsons being a future Eagle, because it's only a matter of time before.
Oh, I think that's insulting. You've been in line for the NFL defensive player of the year the last 3 years or last 2 years, whatever it's been, and you pick up his 5th-year option. I mean,
dude, you know what? I actually have come over, and I think Michael Irvin's onto something, because I listened to Jerry Jones' press conference the other day, and I look at what they're doing with CeeDee Lamb, what they're doing with Parsons, what they're doing with Dak. I think they're trying to blow this thing up and blame it all on Dak Prescott. I think they want to tank on purpose. I think they want to lose, and I think they want it to be all on Dak Prescott. That's why they don't restructure his contract. I totally think that's what they're doing.
And then they sign and draft Shedeur Sanders.
Yeah, and they're probably bringing Deion as coach, like you said, because I just read that McCarthy had to hire an agent because he's in the last year of a contract. So, I mean, dude, you don't sign any of your top players. You can't renegotiate with your quarterback, and then you make it sound like he's the reason why you can't do anything. So, Dallas, Jerry Jones is doing, it's like Major League Baseball. Remember that movie Major League, where the owner wants to sell the team? That's Jerry Jones.
So you
That's
think
Jerry
he's
Jones.
sabotaging? You think he's
I
Howie
do.
Roseman? And he's Howie Roseman in that final game, like he sabotaged Doug. You think
Yeah.
he's throwing the
Well-
whole season though, so
Oh,
that
yeah.
he can blame it on Dak and Dak moves on?
Yeah. Howie does it a lot smarter than Jerry Jones would. But Jerry Jones is blaming this all on Dak, and I think he's sabotaging the Cowboys. I do, because it just makes no sense. Literally, CeeDee Lamb's sitting there. All these guys are getting new contracts. He hasn't been signed. They can't redo Parsons' contract. They got to pick up his option. Now they're designating him in a position to piss him off. And then Dak Prescott, they don't even try to restructure. Yeah, definitely. They're sabotaging.
Mark Holmes live in Detroit yesterday, right here on the program, says that Kellen Moore blows.
Yeah, okay. But Dak Prescott gets all the excuses, right? That dude's whole off season is every video is why it's not Dak Prescott's fault. Directly or indirectly, every video he does is why it's not Dak Prescott's fault. The guy hasn't done anything in 9 years? 9 years, and it's Kellen Moore's fault? I don't think so.
He's 9-4 against the Eagles, though, Dak Prescott.
Yeah, but when you get to the playoffs and you only have 2 wins in 9 years? Come on.
I can't dispute that there, but he did say that Jalen Hurts will not benefit from the tutorage of Kellen Moore because Kellen Moore is not that skilled.
Well, because Dak Prescott didn't take advantage of it, so why would Jalen Hurts take advantage of it? That guy's got his head up his ass so bad, Mark Holmes. It's not even funny.
Do you actually truly believe that Jalen's a better passer than Dak?
I think he's a better quarterback than Dak. Dak may be a better passer, but if I have a fourth quarter, I'm down 4 in the playoffs, I'd rather have Jalen Hurts with the ball than Dak Prescott.
I want to show you something and how I got to hand it to it. You know, the bitchy crying that A.J. Owens has versus Devontae Smith. Watch this here. Philly, you'll love this, though. This is something that shows you the character of one guy versus the lollipop sucker on the other guy. So this guy, St. Brown, signs a $30 million annual per year deal as an average.
Mm-hmm.
His contract is going to come out over 5 years, averaging $18.4 million. You realize that Devontae Smith, for the 3 years of that big part of the contract, will put $36 million in the trash can and light it on fire just because he wants to be an Eagle. He signed that contract a week ago, and it's outdated already.
Yeah,
I mean, with a guy who's not even in the conversation of Lamb, Jamar Chase. I mean, Jalen Waddle, they picked a 50-year option up on him, but Justin Jefferson's contract, do you understand that guy put so much money in the trash can and lit it on fire? It's insane. But I think it speaks that how comfortable he is playing in Philly.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. As his agent, I would have said, wait, you have a whole year. Wait, let these guys get paid, then get paid. But he obviously wanted the extension. He obviously wants to be in Philly. And I mean, I think that's just how Devontae Smith is. I think that speaks on him. I don't think that makes somebody else bad because they might not think that way. I just think that Devontae Smith.
I mean, I'm going to send that guy a binky.
I don't agree with that.
Dude, he cries. He had 2 years remaining on his contract, and he cried his way to an extension. I guess
I haven't seen him say one. He hasn't said one thing about a contract.
I love the Patriots. They're my favorite team when I grew up, just like my Ken and Barbie doll. I really love the pay. I mean, come on, dog.
Nobody thought that he would. Who would want to play in New England? He doesn't want to play New England. Come on.
All right, what do you got going on tonight? What's the
draft, man?
What's the pick? What's the pick tonight?
I don't know. See, I've been pushing. I wanted a cornerback all along, and I really didn't think they would do it. Now we're hearing stuff about a cornerback, which makes me think it's a complete smokescreen.
It is.
So I'm going to say offensive line at the end of the day. I'm going to say first round offensive line. That's my guess if I had to put money on it. But they could go any which way. There's so many different ways they could go. But the fact that the cornerback thing came out now, that makes me very, very skeptical.
These were my final 5 players. If they landed on any one of these guys, you tell me if you would add anybody in here.
Okay.
I said this, if Brock Bowers is sitting there, man, I don't know, man.
Yeah.
I mean, I think he's the best player in the draft. I'm not going to just walk by the best player in the draft. I'm not. I can't. Now, Jared Verse, I think he's the best edge rusher in the draft. I like him. I think there's a lot to do with this Chop Robinson guy. I think that's a guy you look at. 6'4", 255, speed. He's strong, knows how to play defense. He played in a great structured defense. He's from the same school as what you see with Micah Parsons. I got Talisi Fuaga. You know what? You know why there's so many O linemen? Think about this one here, Philly. The reason there's so many O linemen is because of COVID. Fuaga's 24 years. He's 24 years old.
Right.
Which means, when you graduate, I graduated, I was 21 when I went into the draft. So I was 21. That's 3 additional maturing years in college. The majority of these O linemen are between 22 and 24. That's why they're ready to play right now. So I got Fuaga, and I put this guy, Teron Arnold. And the reason I got him over Mitchell is this. Mitchell played against what? Marvin Harrison once.
Right.
This guy Arnold played against all the top wide receivers that are at Alabama, and he's played against Devontae Smith. He's played against Judy. He's played against every single one of these guys. He was in the same backfield with Patrick Surtain at one time. Your practice time, your game that you play in the SEC, week to week, you're playing against the best people all week from Monday through Sunday. So my point is, that's why, to me, Mitchell's more of a gamble at a high gamble position.
Yeah, I think you're right. I mean, I personally like Quinyon Mitchell. He's my favorite, but I agree with you because of the competition. I do think that you can legitimately say there's question marks. I personally think Arnold's the guy that they like if they like a corner, because we heard that his visit was spectacular. So I think if they do take a corner, I think it's Arnold, unless they take Cooper DeJean. But I don't see Cooper DeJean. I think he's a very unique player. I think he has the possibility to be a total steal. But I don't see him as an outside corner. I see him more as a safety, Swiss Army knife guy that you've got to use all around. Using a slot, use a safety, like you get a good defensive coordinator who has imaginations on how to use him. I think he could be a real weapon. If you just stick him on the outside, I think you're wasting his talent.
You think he's more like a Gardner Johnson?
Yeah, in a lot of ways, I do. And I think that the versatility that he has, and if you have the right coordinator who could kind of build in a secondary around him, I think he could be a really good player.
Here's the needs that I threw out for the Eagles tonight. And you could put them in any order. I got corner, linebacker, safety. I'm not here. I got OT here, but here's what I don't want. I don't want another draft, Philly, where you're sitting a guy on a redshirt year and he has no impact in the first round again for your team. You need somebody to start playing today. And how many years do you think Lane Johnson has? 4?
2 to 3.
Oh, you think it's more down there, 2 to 3? You think he's running out of gas?
Well, I don't think he's running out of gas, but I think seeing all the guys he saw just retire, I think probably another 2 years, I wouldn't be surprised if he calls it a career.
Would you be okay with an OT at that pick if they stay
Absolutely.
at 22?
100,000%. As long, because I don't see it like they get a tackle. See, when I look at it and I see, like you're saying, you want a guy who's going to play right away. Well, if they take a defensive lineman, chances are they're not going to play as a starter.
No.
Chances are they're not going to take a linebacker in the first round, a safety in the first round. But if they take a tackle, let's say the kid from Alabama or Fatano,
Murphy,
if they could land a guy that could play right guard right away, and then you draft him, and then he could kick outside when Lane goes. I'm okay with that. I think that's fine. I think there's more likelihood that you'll get a guy like that who will play right guard the first year and then eventually kick out. So I think offensive line may be where you have the best chance to actually get a guy that plays right away.
That thinking's great. And I think this is why also I think the other high opportunity for them is edge. And here's why. You get an edge rusher like either Chop, you trade for Verse, you get up, you do some things. Even the kid Latu from UCLA.
Yeah.
Then you're able to move Milton Williams back inside as the rotating tackle, and he can go up and down the line of scrimmage and be your floating guy at either a 5 technique or your 1 technique. I mean, one thing about Milton, do you agree? Watching him, he could play on the defensive end position and the nose position. And you can rotate him and then even put him in a forefront if you have to, you want to run it out of nickel. So I think that's his position. If it's me, you draft an edge rusher to replace Brandon. Brandon Graham can't start the season as my end in September.
Yeah, no, I totally get it. I love an edge rusher. There's a couple guys. I think Verse is probably my favorite one. I think Latu's interesting because I think he's going to be either a stud or a total bomb, because I do worry about his injury history. But I think if that guy is what they think he is, he's going to be. He could be a double-digit sack guy first year. So I mean, there are some definite guys. What I want more than anything in this first round is I just want them to go best player available. I don't want them to focus on trying to plug a hole instead of getting the best guy. So let's say you have 3-4 defensive ends and edge rushers off the board, but you have the top 2 corners on the board. If those top 2 corners are rated as your highest player, take them. If Bowers is there and he's rated as your best guy, take him. Because like you said, the miss rate in the first round is high. And when you get caught trying to fill a position, it always backfires in the first round. So just
here,
the best player available.
Here's your point. We were just, as a matter of fact, prior to you coming on, here's the point. Chicago has the first pick, right? They're going to take a quarterback and they're going to take Caleb Williams. Well, according to all the scouts and all the people that work for Bledsoe, which is the scouting service for the NFL, where 30 of the 32 teams use that scouting service to put their draft board together, then their own personnel people take over. The place where Caleb Williams ranks is 13th. Think about that for instance. You're going to take the first player in the draft, and the first player picked is the 13th best player in the draft.
Right.
And your need also is tackle. You're going to pass on Talisi Fuaga, who's the 4th best. Like you said, you're looking not to fail. You're not looking for the spectacular sign. Here's one that's even crazier. So New England is going to draft, and they're going to take that kid, Drake May. Drake May is like the 16th best player.
Right.
Here's even more. Minnesota's got the 11th pick. They're going to take a quarterback, and they're looking to get J.J. McCarthy.
Yeah.
J.J. McCarthy's not ranked until the 42nd best player.
Yeah. And
that's exactly to your point.
Yeah, and that's what always happens with these quarterbacks. And then these teams, the guy doesn't pan out, and they're bad another 4 or 5 years. And that's what's always going to happen when it comes to quarterbacks. But for the Eagles, for Howie, I think when he gets in trouble is when he tries to get a guy for a specific need. Now, if your need matches the talent, I'm okay with it. But like going into this draft, if Fatanu's there and he's the best guy, take him. I'm okay with it. If it's Verse, take him. If it's Arnold, Mitchell, I don't care. As long as you're taking the best player that your scouting department evaluated. That's what I care about. I think 2nd round, 3rd round, 4th, you can focus more on needs and things like that. But teams get too cute in the first round. It's often because they don't go best player available.
James has something here too. talking about mid-50s and the best value to first play right guard and then move to right tackle 2 to 3 years. Cornerback first, unless they move back and get Lassiter, the kid from Georgia.
Right.
Billy, I'm a fan of moving back because isn't it more? Don't you think if you move back and you're the Eagles, there's what you're talking about, a better chance of landing on a starter?
Right. It just depends. I mean, who's available? I tell you this. I think the chances are the Eagles are moving up, and then I say they move back. I think the chances that they stay at 22 is slim. I think they'll do one or the other. You know. And listen, if they do stay at 22 and Brock Bowers is there, I'm taking him.
Isn't it funny that I believe the Eagles do a better job at drafting in the latter rounds than they do in the first round?
They do, and I think a lot of that has to do with them going need and stuff in the past, and just from what we've heard about how they allow the analytics department to really dictate early on has hurt them in the past too. But I think it's because they tried to fill a giant hole. Whatever your need is this year. In 2 years, it may not be a need. What if, people say, well, you got to draft this guy for your system. Well, in 2 years, you might be in a new system. So take the best player available and give yourself the best chance to hit on the first round. So the later rounds, you can go need. That's how I see it.
Yeah, Xander's saying, look, he goes 20 to 60 overall. Pretty much everybody's in the same line. I actually think there's 15 good players that are going to make a massive impact on this league this year. I don't think there's 20. I thought there was 20 last year, and there were probably 5 sandbox players. And I named the kid, Witherspoon kid, the Gonzalez kid, the offensive tackle that went to Arizona, and also Jalen Carter. Those were your sandbox guys last year.
I had Bajan up there because I was all about taking Bajan Robinson if need be.
I think he was a sandbox guy.
Yeah.
I actually, you know what shocked me? I don't know if he shocked you. The kid Gibbs actually shocked me.
Yeah, he's good. He's good. Well, it shocked me where they took him, but he's turned out to be a hell of a player. There's no question about it. I think there's some interesting guys. Like I think Bowers is going to be really good. Would the Eagles take a tight end as a who's going to be a backup? Would they do that? I don't know. Cooper DeJean, I think, is like a real boom or bust guy. Same with Latu. So there are some guys, but I don't think this team sits still at all. I think they either go up or they move back.
You know what? For me, when I see the best corner in the country and he's not in this draft, he's still in college at Colorado. That to me always downplays the position that, okay, Travis Hunter's the best corner in the country.
Mm-hmm.
And the best corners are not in the draft going in the first round. It's the kid at Colorado. So to me, I'm always like, damn, okay, so the best kid in the country, maybe I got a chance of lining up and getting that kid next year instead of lining up to try to get, like you said, the third best corner in the draft versus me lining up potentially to set myself up to get the best corner in the draft. Would you try to trade for Surtain tonight?
Yeah. I would. If I could pull that off, yeah, I would give a first-round pick for Surtain. I think he's top 2 corner in the league. If you could do that, absolutely.
Let me show you one. Let me tell you one thing here.
All right.
So
I'm not throwing AJ Brown in there.
No, I'm not. I'll take AJ. I'll take AJ Owens out of this.
Okay.
Okay, but I'll do this to you. New England wants to move. Elliott Wolf has made it very clear he wants to move. And I'm going to show you something that get this, Philly. Guess what the Denver Broncos did yesterday?
What?
They picked up the 5th-year option
on
Surtain. Now, you could have did that Monday.
Right.
You had until May 2nd. You could have did that next Thursday. Why do that heading into the draft? You know why? It's enticing because you still got him on a rookie deal. Then you got him on the 5th-year option if you make a deal for him.
Yeah.
To me, isn't that a smoke signal that Denver went, hey, if you come with a treasure chest, remember the Jalen Ramsey at the Rams gave to the Jags to get his ass over there? So if you do something like Philly goes like this at 3, you go to New England. I'll give you the 22nd pick, the 53rd pick, and potentially a 4th pick for Patrick Surtain. The 4th rounder could be next year. Or it could be that pick in 27 for for Reddick. And you go like this, here, Surtain. And they move down, they get multiple picks. You get Patrick Surtain, and you take with the 50th pick, Edgerrin Cooper.
I mean, I would do it. I mean, I think
is that enough though? Do you think Denver that's enough?
Yeah, I think it may be more than enough. I was thinking more like a first and a 4th, first and a 4th and a 5th next year, something like that. I was thinking of not giving up that extra 2nd round pick. So yeah, I mean, it depends with Denver. They want to get up and get a quarterback. Why did they trade for Zach Wilson though? That's the only thing I want to know. Or are they thinking that they could they can develop him or something? Does
Philly
that
500,
change anything?
if you start September with Jarrett Stidham and Zach Wilson as your quarterback, where are you going with that?
You're going to stink.
I mean, and Patrick Surtain doesn't help you when you can't score.
Right. No,
so
I
mean,
I agree.
I
agree.
Do you think the Eagles need a running back?
I think a 5th round running back would be fine. I think if you want to bring a couple undrafted free agents, fine. I don't think you need to do anything over under a 4th round pick for running back. I would much rather get a linebacker in a 2nd and then get another wide receiver. I think you need a wide receiver though. I think you need a wide
slot receiver.
Yeah, Devontae Parker and Paris Campbell are not good enough. They're not good enough to be your number 3. And I think that the Eagles, I think they're going to go receiver in the 2nd round. Who I don't know, but I think that they're going to look for a receiver early in this draft.
Do you think the Eagles draft a quarterback in this draft?
No, but every time I say that, then they do it. But I'll say no. I don't think they draft a quarterback. I wouldn't mind. I think they bring in an undrafted free agent quarterback, but I don't think they'll draft one.
Do you also agree that Jalen Hurts has been given more than any quarterback in the history of the Jeffrey Lurie era? More so than Wentz, more than McNabb, more than Vic, more than Foles, more than anybody. He's been given more weapons to succeed more than any quarterback has received. It can't just be about coordinators, too. He's got to step up now, dude. I mean, if this guy doesn't put 2 good years or at least give us another good year, hey, I'll even take this. 2 of the last 3 years were really great. Okay, but you can't do this. A good first start year kind of thing, great year, inconsistent year, turnovers, and then turn it around and go, he's average with that group. You can't do it, dude.
No, I think that you're right. I think that he's had more talent around him than anybody else I can remember. Even more than Randall had. Even more than McNabb. Yeah, I mean, as far as I can remember, I don't remember the Eagles ever having 2 wide receivers like they do. Now you add Saquon Barkley, and then you have the offensive line you already have. I mean, I don't remember that kind of talent around anybody else.
Finally here. Well, then help me out on this. Do you think that Brian Johnson stunk as a coordinator?
Yes.
Okay. If so, AJ's going to get a contract extension. Devontae got a brand new contract, pays him $25. The left tackle got a brand new contract. The left guard got a brand new contract. You signed a $10 million running back. I mean, and you had a Pro Bowl running back, which you signed an $8 million deal in Chicago. How come every single one of those guys had career years and Jalen Hurts had a down year?
Well,
The coordinator got all those guys paid.
Yeah, well, the coordinator or the talent. The problem with the coordinator wasn't, in my opinion, necessarily coordinating. The problem was that you had a head coach who was getting way too involved.
Oh,
And then when things went bad, and this is where I think that the coordinators really showed who they are. When they started to lose, they had no idea how to stop the bleeding. But if you look at before, we could go back from Jalen Hurts at the beginning of the year to Jalen Hurts running in the end zone in overtime versus Buffalo. The guy was the leading candidate to win the MVP at that point. At that point, he was the leading candidate to win. So we couldn't have been having some just god-awful season. I'm not saying he had a good season compared to the year before, but it wasn't as bad as everybody says. But when they started to collapse, everything, especially for Jalen Hurts, went downhill. And I think a lot of the guys were they did all their statistics within those first 11 weeks. And I think everybody pretty much fell off the board at that point. Except for maybe Devontae Smith. I mean, A.J. Brown was on a record pace, right? Then he cools off. Devontae Smith was the only guy on offense that I could think of that was doing anything. He was the only guy who showed up for the game.
Who am I?
What's wrong? Your eyes are itchy? You got
allergies?
No.
I'm what I want to be for this coming Halloween this year is AJ Owens. I'm gonna. Well, I'll tell you, man.
You can cry. I'm drinking Cowboys tears.
Hey, Mark says, man, he goes, he goes, Kellen Moore sucks. He's not going to help. Jay's actually going to hurt Jalen Hurts.
That guy's the most delusional guy. I'm telling you. I sent you that clip of him. Yeah. He's delusional. From the point that Dak Prescott throws that pick six versus Green Bay, from that point on, everything has been damage control. It's all Dak Prescott. Not his fault. He's never had any talent. It's all Kellen Moore's fault. It's Jerry Jones' fault. It's McCarthy's fault. It's never that your quarterback's just not a winner. It's that simple.
I mean, dude, I love you, man. Tell the folks tonight, man, how they can find you.
Just type in Philly 500. I'll be live. We'll be streaming every step of the way, man. It's going to be a great night.
What's the one pick that would piss you off tonight?
There's really
if they take a wideout.
That wouldn't even piss me off.
They took a wideout in the first round?
If they took in the first round, yeah, that probably would piss me off a little bit. A quarterback in the second round, something crazy like that. Otherwise, I mean, I'm okay with the offensive lineman. I'm okay with the defensive lineman.
Oh my God, they're going to draft Michael Penix Jr.
Oh yeah, something like that. A lot of people don't like Chop Robinson. I'm kind of neutral on him. This is one of the very few drafts that I feel like if the Eagles go certain ways, I could understand it and live with it. I just want them to get impact players. I'll tell you what would piss me off. Not tonight, but if we come out of the first two rounds and they don't add a linebacker, I'm going to be pissed off.
Oh yeah,
I'll be very pissed off.
Absolutely.
That'll piss me off.
Absolutely, me too. Mike, maybe book it. Michael Penix Jr. at number 22.
Oh yeah, I'll lose my mind.
Hey, wait.
I would lose my mind.
If Michael Penix fell to the second round, would you use one of those seconds?
No, I don't. I want to get better, and I want guys that are going to play right away.
But don't you want a guy who could be like, in case Jalen gets hurt, you got a guy who could step right in and win games?
No,
Tyler McKee ain't it.
Listen, I'm not wasting this was the problem I had.
You wasted the second rounder before and it worked out.
Yeah, but that was lucky. I don't believe that Howie planned that.
He didn't.
That was lucky. There's no way. I don't draft a quarterback in the second round to sit on the bench behind my franchise quarterback. I'm going to go out and get players to help the team play right away. That's
Michael
what I want.
Penix has a better arm than Hurts.
Well, it doesn't mean he can win a Super Bowl. I believe Jalen Hurts can win a Super Bowl. Nobody can convince me Jalen Hurts can't win a Super Bowl. I watched this guy get one more drive away from winning. So nobody can convince me he can't win. I believe it's in him. You know, he may not have the best arm. He may not be the best thrower. But I believe that in the playoffs, when it comes to it and he needs a big win, I trust him more than Dak Prescott. I can tell you that.
Hey, that's kind of low-hanging fruit, but I agree.
That really is. That really is.
I
just
do.
The Cowboy fans don't know that it's low-hanging fruit. You know, that's the problem.
Philly, have a great
Thank
one
you.
tonight, man. Should be
You
very
too.
interesting. I appreciate you
Yes.
always doing this for me, man. It's a lot of fun.
Absolutely.
Thank you, brother.
Thank you, my man. Peace.
You got it, man. That is Philly 500 jumping aboard with us. All right. We're going to take a timeout. We'll reset. Hit the like button. Keep it here, National Football Show.
They're carving them up and good play calling along the way. First and goal at the 6.
On the field of life, First Trust Bank is there for you
Champions on 3. 1, 2, 3.
because Philadelphia dreams deserve a Philadelphia bank.
Heading down the shore. Have a ball once more.
Here, imaginations run wild and time stands still. Because here, you can find the best of the Jersey Shore, all on one 5-mile island. So leave the old you behind and get lost in the woods.
Wild, wild, wildwood day.
Plan your stay in the Wildwoods today.
Hi, I'm Jim Muehlbronner, Managing Partner at Del Valle Insurance Group. Give us a call. We're a local, knowledgeable agency, not an 800 number. Go Birds!
The greatest fans on earth. It's a bold statement, but would you expect anything less from Philadelphia? 58 years of heartache creates a toughness, a grit, a resolve not found in most. Sure, our prayers were answered, but now that we've had a taste, we're looking for more. Pondley Hockey, official partner of the Philadelphia Eagles.
EAGLES. Eagles.
Big Sills. We'll do something tonight prior to the Birds draft here on JAKIB. Unless you come on the program, Big Sills, and by the way, this is for all of you out there that send me requests to do shows, don't. You can stop. I'll never do it. I only do shows for people that come on my program and are friends with me because I can't once again be ambushed like Carton. He and I have a pact. We don't go on anybody's show unless we know you or you come on this program. That ain't working. You know how many requests I get from people, especially in Philly, for me to go on their shows? And I say, absolutely not. It's like doing interviews when it comes to media people. I refuse to do Talkers, Radio Inc., any of that because I get sabotaged. I don't do any of that. So only place you'll find me tonight and tomorrow at 10 a.m. will be here on JAKIB too because don't forget on Friday night, 10 a.m. or 10 p.m. Eastern, my daughter's graduating. So we're very excited to see that too. Denny, who's Joey Bag of Dicks? I don't know the guy. I have no idea who Joey Bag of Dicks is. None. Okay. Yes, Dan, you don't do many guest spots. No, I don't. I do Seth Joyner too. I'll do Seth. But I think that's going to be interesting, Denny, to see where Spencer Adler goes. Senor, 10 a.m. I can't do the afternoon show. We got to get in the car and we got to get ready for my daughter's graduation. So we're going to do it in the morning. Would I go on Tone's show? Yeah, I would. Love the kid. Xander loves him. We all do. Nobody here has ever talked any kind of ill will. Yeah, absolutely. Great kid. Pulling for him. Want him to be successful. Tell him I said that. Root for him every day. Yeah, 10 a.m. Eastern. Yep. Thank you, senor. So 10 a.m. tomorrow, nice morning. Well, be right. Like, plus, we're going to get the response right after Birds 365 too. So that'll be good here. Okay. Manser goes, Joey Bag of Dicks would undress. Dude, okay, great. Sure, he wins. Hey, you're right. You win. He's great. I'm sure. Hey, I know this. Hey, Manster, I've sucked for 34 years in broadcasting. I know, man. It's been terrible. That guy has stunk for 34 years. Right, senor? Man, Sills. Been bad for 34 years? Yeah. Can you believe that? Now, that's probably one of the best lines I've ever seen in my life. And I knew Xander would point that out because I think down in Xander's heart of hearts, I think that's how he looks at Big Sills. I never thought it. Hey, Twiz, you know what, though? You're a troublemaker, guy. You're a troublemaker. Sills is a dickhead with a big heart. I think you make a t-shirt of that. I actually like that. I like a hat and a t-shirt with that on it. Xander's like massive dickhead. Oh, okay, yeah, right, yeah. Ball buster, yeah. Okay. Rub people the wrong way. Okay, guilty. Oh, it's a tough gig. Takes time. Lots of competition. Yeah, you know what I tell people, young broadcasters? Just keep doing it. You'll get better at it. And one thing that I'll tell radio people that are getting into doing podcasting, and this is the way radio's done. It's finished. Beasley's getting ready to file bankruptcy. All the major ones are filing bankruptcy and can't pay their bills. Okay, and their stocks are under $1. They're going to be delisted. Beasley will be delisted next. Why is that? Because of shows like this and platforms like this. You think the NFL and Disney wants to get away from ESPN and turn it into digital. That's why Pat McAfee is the biggest property they have right now outside of the teams they air, like NFL, NBA. Pat McAfee's their biggest show, along with First Take. Outside of that, the rest of those shows are garbage. It's unwatchable. Man, PTI's still good. I love Tony Kornheiser. If somebody were to tell me, Sills, who's the greatest overall national sports guy who's done it for the longest time, it's not Bayless, it's Kornheiser. Because he did radio, did a TV show, and he was great at it all, and a columnist. By the way, you know SAS, Stephen A. Smith? I thought he was a Philly guy. He's a New York guy? He's a Knicks fan? I thought he worked for the Inquirer. Dan Patrick's great too. I thought didn't he work for the Inquirer? Okay. That's really true, Cody. Cody, that's really true. Nobody watches McAfee on ESPN. They watch him on YouTube. You couldn't be more right than that. Yeah, hey, Forrest, Sal's not really a national radio host. He doesn't do 4 hours or 3 hours of a show. I do 3 hours by myself. 3 hours, 4 hours I do 4 hours by myself. I did 4 hours of radio by myself for 25 years. So when you guys go like this, can you go 4 hours doing this? I did for 25 years in Morning Drive. Today, I think this show flew by the way, because we have a really big, but you know what? Jeff the Bone, TV guys are nowhere in radio and what we do in our league. You know why? Those are script readers. They can't improv. They can't, like me and Tony Bruno need a couple cliff notes to do a show. They need a script. I don't script anything. I got my notes. Look, and I label them 1 through 20. I try to get about 26 things, and I kind of fill in the gaps. Some may land, some don't. Colin's good too. He's afraid, though, and he's right to be afraid. He doesn't want to hurt his brand, so he doesn't touch a lot of things, and he stays away from it. He's probably smarter, and he is definitely smarter than me. Me, I'll barrel into anything. I get these text messages in the morning from Xander. Sills, why? It's never good when you see that one. And especially, do me a favor, tell your old man to stop calling me, because every time he calls me, he makes me nervous. I got 3 calls from Joe Krause in the last 2 days, and I'm going like, this can't be good. I don't know. He calls me 3 times, and they were all great, right? And I'm going like, man, what's this now? What in the world is this? So I'm going like, hey, your man called me 3 times. I'm like, you think the 3rd time it's going to be good too? Let's reset here. Big night tonight. Big night tonight. The National Football League, make no mistake about it, they just cornered the market when it comes to gathering the fans' interest. 90 million plus fans are going to watch the next couple of days of the NFL draft. What makes that draft so good, you think? What makes that draft enticing for you to watch? What's the best thing about the draft? You're an Eagle fan, Bill fan, Niner fan. Niner all day. For you. Niner all day. What makes the draft great for you? And you get this, Niner all day has had a very interesting history in the draft the last 3 years. Trey Lance, Brock Purdy. Hey, Niner all day, you can't be at the end of the spectrum any more than what the 49ers have been. You gave up 3 first-round draft choices for one guy who stunk, and you drafted the last player in the draft, and he went to the Super Bowl just a few months ago. And he makes less than $900,000. You can't write that any better. Maybe what it is the ultimate reality show. You just don't know what you're going to get when you draft some of these players. Like I said to you guys, I swear to God, whoever they take tonight, you can't go like this. That's a sorry ass pick. You can't. You don't know. They don't even have a locker yet. You won't know what these players look like. You know what? Here, you know how sometimes I say this about Nakobe Dean, and I say this about Jordan Davis, and I say this about Nolan Smith. Am I right, Yale? You won't really know what you have for probably 2.5 years. Going into the 3rd year, you got kind of an idea who he is. Some guys splash early, some guys splash late. That's why trading for Surtain is the number 1 potential move. It's the only surefire move the Eagles can make tonight to get better. Correct. You want to get better? I'll make this proclamation. You get Surtain in that building, you will go to the NFC title game. If you draft Quinton Mitchell, I'll let you know week 11 how it's panning out and impact he has. You put Surtain on your team April 25th, you're going to the NFC title game. That changes the game. That completely changes the game. Totally changes the game. And Twiz, whoever wanted Rager, when you take Jalen Rager is a great comparison to Quinton Mitchell. Why would you draft a wide receiver from a program that never produces wide receivers? Like ever. Ohio State, Alabama, they're factories. It's hard to measure work ethic for players coming into the draft because 50% of them are just because they are gifted and talented. That's why, Dirty D, that combine, do you notice that a lot of the head coaches are no longer going to the combines? Why? They don't want to be jaded by a guy's 40-yard time. We were all taken by Jordan. Here, let's use Jordan. Hey, for the record, I want to see him at nose. It could change his direction of his career. I think it may. But what was the thing that we came out of that combines with? 4.78, 340 pounds. His shuttle drills were insane. Has he lived up to that combine? You think he's lived up to that combine? One play. The Josh Allen play when he ran him down was one of the greatest football plays I've ever seen for a big man. I was like a water buffalo chasing down an antelope. That is what you want to see from that guy every play. If that guy played like that every play, he'd be better than Jalen Carter. Pulling that play out of him and getting 65 of those plays has been impossible, including his time at Georgia. Dan Wilkinson from Ohio State was a heck of a football player early in his career, but he flamed out pretty highly at Cincinnati. I thought he was good, Griffin. I didn't think he was awful. He was a high pick, though, in the draft. Maybe didn't really live up to the selection where he went, but he was okay. Steve Ettman was a guy that never lived up to his draft pick. Ettman was a high pick out of the Washington Husky program, and he never lived up to that pick. I think he went to the Indianapolis Colts, and I thought he never lived up to that selection. But he was really great in college, really outstanding when he was in college. But again, these combines, they jade you. They jade you because of the athleticism sometimes you see. Howie brought in Slay and Bradbury that were both developed by other teams. Reddick was, A.J. Brown. Forrest, look, Jordan Davis played like that every play. He weighed 300 pounds. I know. Hey, Xander, you know that one where he says Howie brought in Slay and Bradbury? If we could put that up there too. Thank you, Dirty D. I appreciate it. Where it says that Howie brought in Slay and Bradbury. What's the one thing you notice about that right there? Well, think about it. Bradbury was a free agent sign. Slay was a trade. Reddick was a free agent sign. AJ was a trade. Can't draft corners. Can't draft edge. Can't draft wideouts. All positions he misses on. You think that's coincidence? You think that's by coincidence? All those players And by the way, what was really, you know who screwed Slay and Bradbury up? It was Patricia. Patricia, the reason why him and Slay hated one another in Detroit was why. He likes press cover corners. That's a New England way. It's press cover. That's why you guys got beat in Seattle. You know, it's fun to pick on you guys. But you got beat in Seattle because of Matt Patricia, not James Bradbury and Darius Slay and Hassan Reddick. You dropped him in coverage, and those guys were pressing the Seahawk receivers. They're center fielders. And you got no pressure in that Seattle game. And Drew Lock beat you because of coaching. Talent was the same talent you had in 22. Reddick, Slay, and Bradbury. Right? Same. What changed? Patricia wanted to press more. Why would you press when two dudes don't press? Bradbury was fired in New York because he couldn't press. Slay was traded in Detroit because he couldn't press. Why would you put him in that position to press cover? Because that's your forte. The biggest mistake they made last year in that stretch run was putting Matt Patricia in there. They should have left well enough alone. So what, you got killed twice? He did beat Vic in Miami and the Chiefs. You should have left it alone. I personally think you'd have won the NFC East if you left it alone. Get this, twist goes, the tackling was all atrocious. Yeah, did you see the pursuit angle lanes? Because they were asking them the two gap after going to one gap. 3-1, they went to two gapping. Do you know why Jalen Carter and Jordan Davis got completely shut down in the second half of the season? They two gapped for shitty linebacking play. You know what two gapping is? You're a fire hydrant. You grab the guy in front of you, making sure that guy doesn't slip and scoop up on the linebackers, and you have nowhere to make plays. You took every single bit of fundamental thing that Reddick did well, Jalen Carter did well, and what Jordan Davis did well, all away. That thing was a train wreck on defense. Unorganized, undisciplined, no pursuit angles, and everyone out of position. I'm telling you, you want to know why those players quit? Was because of leadership in the coaching staff, and the players knew it. They didn't know what they were being asked to do. There's not one two-gapper on that team, except maybe Jordan Davis. But you can't have Jordan Davis playing two-gap over a guard. Put his ass over the center. He's 6'4", 6'5", 350 pounds. Put that son of a B over him like Sam Adams, Vince Wilfork. Let him eat those guys up like Vita Vea. Smash them guys around. I mean, all those defensive guys, get this. So Reddick is dropping. Something he wasn't doing after the cast came off. But when Patricia got in, he dropped him. Why? You thought he was Teddy Bruschi? Or you thought he was Willie McGinnis? That's not who that guy is. The lack of identity on the personnel and their strengths and weaknesses was so evident on the defensive football team. It's why they replaced the entire staff. Do you understand the entire staff has been replaced? I don't think there's one guy left that's in that secondary, that's in that defensive side of the ball. I think Vic fired them all. Is that Sills talking? Who is this guy? Prince. Prince, am I wrong? Am I wrong? But Prince, that comes back to front office meddling and all the stuff that I hammer on. But there's no doubt the players, Prince, get this. The players were doing this. What the hell? 1 minute we're asked to do this. The next minute we're told to do this. Now we're going back to this. Now we're doing this. I don't do that well. You put Bradbury in a bad. That's why I think Bradbury has a better year. I think Bradbury has a better year this year because they're not going to be asking him to do that shit. Remember, control and contain. Control and contain. That's where we're going here. National Football League draft tonight. It's become amazing. 90 million people are going to watch this bad puppy tonight. Let's bring in our friend Jason Cole and get his perspective, national perspective on this thing. Jace, can you believe it? 90 million people are going to watch this thing tonight and have some guy go like this. Hey, Bill Smith from Eagle Creek University is going to get picked with the 201 pick.
It's Christmas if you're an NFL fan. It's Christmas. You get to be optimistic. You get to be happy. Your team takes a new shiny toy that you can plug into its team that's going to make you the Super Bowl champion this year. It's all magically going to happen tonight. That's the sales pitch. Come on, man. This is, even the players get excited about it too. It's like, who do we get? Who do we get? Who do we get? Who's coming after my job? Who does this? Who's this? It's fun. That said, it's not in proper context. I mean, people misunderstand what the draft is about, but that doesn't mean that they shouldn't get excited about it and be happy about it. It's cool. It's a cool thing. I mean, and guys get to see their hopes and dreams. The only thing I always laugh about is the players go up and hug Roger. They give him that big, the big bro hug, right? And they don't realize, like, as Roger's giving them the hug, he's like reaching in their back pocket to take money out. It's just, that's his job. Like he's not your friend.
Come on, Cole, don't ruin the night. We got.
I don't want.
We got Friday to ruin the day for us.
I just laugh about it. Okay, it's one of those things that I sit there and go, the irony of this. If I was the head of the NFLPA, I would be up there on stage with Roger, hugging those guys with him to make sure. But that's just me.
How about this, dude? One thing is really cool about this, and you're right. When you get a call from an NFL team, and mine was Rich McKay, and Rich calls me up and goes, "Hey, with the 56th pick, we're gonna take today. That's a second rounder." Then it was a third because they didn't have, I think, Carolina and Jacksonville, what have you.
Yeah.
And they go, "How'd you like to be a Buck?" And I'm like, "Man, I want to be in the NFL. I don't really care." To get that call is truly one of the most remarkable things that's ever happened in my life. Outside of my kid being born and marrying my wife, that's probably the coolest thing that's ever happened to me, having a team call you and go, "Hey, here's $300,000, 1987, and we're going to take you with the 56th pick." It's pretty amazing.
I can't even imagine. I remember how good it felt to get picked for my junior high basketball team. Only imagine, oh, I made the 7th grade All-Star team in basketball. Woo! Okay. That's my claim to fame. You could get drafted in the NFL and get that phone call and have somebody excited to take you. And it's a truly, truly awesome and special thing for guys.
The only problem I had, though, is it was the only time I actually ever took a private jet. I flew up from Miami to Tampa, and then I met this guy with a gigantic nose and an orange blazer. And the guy comes waiting for me, goes, "Diane, how are you?" And I'm like, I thought he was Colonel Sanders. And the guy goes like this. He goes, "I'm Hugh Culverhouse." It was Hugh Culverhouse. He goes, "It's Hugh Culverhouse." And I looked over at my buddy and I go, "I thought he was Colonel Sanders, man." I had no idea. He goes, "We'd like to welcome you in here to being a Tampa Bay Buccaneer."
Oh man, Hugh Culverhouse, what a show! I remember when I guess it was in probate court when his wife found out how many women he had affairs with.
Oh,
and she Like I think she said during the trial, I want to dig him up and burn him or something like that.
Facts. And Gay
Yeah.
too, his daughter, man, was not that whole thing here, man. All right, let's get into some of the news heading into tonight. Is this Justin Herbert thing smokescreen stuff as we're getting ready for the draft? I mean, he's not really thinking of Jim McCarthy over Justin Herbert, is he?
I'd be so shocked by that. I would be shocked. Like, Justin Herbert can play. Like, wasn't one of the reasons that you took the job?
Yeah, because of him.
Right. You took now. I mean, I think people are just in love with this idea, but look, Harbaugh's crazy.
He is.
I mean, like, to me, this reads like this should be the draft where he either takes one of the wide receivers, Dunze, and if somehow Harrison falls there, you take him, or you go with the slobber knocker, which is sort of the Jim Harbaugh thing. Build with offensive and defensive line. I mean, look at Michigan's offensive and defensive lines last year. They were the best that he's had since he was in college, and he dedicated a lot of effort into making those two lines really great. Not only the players that they recruited and how they worked them out, but in addition, the coaching that they put into those guys. So I think this draft lines up very well for him, even if he wants to trade back. And, look, I think the J.J. McCarthy thing is, it's great. You think he's a great story, interesting kid and all this. But Justin Herbert can play. Like, you walked in.
Oh, I agree.
Justin Herbert is ready-made. Like, there's nothing that you have to concern yourself with. Now, if I'm Chicago and I get Justin Herbert dangled in front of me, I'm doing that deal. Now I'm probably holding them up a little bit, but I don't think that that's what's going to happen. I don't think they have to go up to get McCarthy. You can sit where you are. If you're really in love with McCarthy, you can probably trade back a couple of spots to get him. But maybe I'm wrong about that. I think McCarthy's a fun story, but I come back to he's thrown 38 passes in the fourth quarter. Right.
And he's thrown 150 less than the other guys who are going to go in the draft.
And that's not the only determining factor. There are a lot of other determining factors. Don't get me wrong. Like, that's putting raw numbers out there as a way to test whether a guy's any good is not fair. But he just hasn't been in as many high stress situations to test whether that talent is real. To me, he is a hype of personality. There's a cult of personality around McCarthy that allows people to project that his skills are better than we've actually seen.
I'm going to throw something at you here. Check this out tonight. They're projecting that at least 10 O-linemen have a high enough grade to go in that first round. You got 5 quarterbacks that are going to go in that first round, and you got 6 wide receivers that could go in that first round. Jason, that's 21 players out of the 32 are from 3 positions alone. Now, I know it's cyclical and everything, and I know it goes in cycles. I get it. However, does that tell you anything about the direction of where the league is going when you see that 3 positions are dominating this draft tonight?
Well, no, because to me, quarterbacks and offensive linemen are automatics, right?
Yeah.
This just happens to be a particularly good year where there are enough offensive linemen there.
And Jason, the reason I think that is because of COVID, and I'll tell you why. These guys, a lot of these guys are 23, 24. When you graduate, you're 21. They had that redshirt year and COVID year. Like this Talisi Fuaga, he's 24. He used the COVID year. And so these guys are more mature now going into the draft.
A few. There's certainly a few of them, and that's helped that particular position. But I just think that the total number of offensive linemen is a little bit of a that's not normal. Like, it's hard to find out. It's not. The quarterbacks, that's the high end. 6. If you're talking about 6 guys, that's the really high end. okay, of a typical draft. It's just the numbers bloated a little bit, but I think the wide receiver thing is a real and it's a constant because the game is played by wide receivers in a big way now, because getting the ball to those guys out and the numbers out in space, that's how you create offense. I mean, they've essentially taken over for running backs. The running back value that used to exist, say 20, 25 years ago, has been sort of usurped by receivers as you make the game more wide open.
How about this one too, Jace? How about this stat? Of the 2021 first round picks, 5 of them for quarterbacks went in that draft. 4 of them have recently been traded for third day draft picks. That tells you this. You're talking about a guy being maybe the second pick in the draft, like a Zach Wilson, and you're traded for a 6th. You went from the second pick in the draft to having value in only 2 years of a 6th rounder. That shows you how that is so imbalanced and how you evaluate that position.
I would also like to know how many guys in the other positions are not even in the league or not with their teams anymore, because that's pretty high percentage too. But look, the gamble on quarterbacks is bigger than it's ever been, because quarterbacks give you a chance to be good for 10 or 12 years. And that's the point to taking those guys, the really great ones. And we overvalue the position, and we've tilted the game towards passers. So this is just the cost of doing business, the cost of the investment at that position. I hear people say all the time, well, you shouldn't take a quarterback high in the draft because, if you miss on him, it does this, and this to your team. And I'm like, yeah, but if you hit on one of those guys, you're great for a long time. And I will say this, if you add up the number of Super Bowls won by quarterbacks taken at number 1 overall, and then add up all the Super Bowls won by guys taken at all other positions, the number of Super Bowls won by quarterbacks taken at number 1 overall, if just on an average per player, is way higher than the other positions. And I haven't done it for every spot in the first round, but again, when you hit on a quarterback, you hit big, and you're playing for the big return in the first round, and that's why I see teams take quarterbacks early. I mean, it doesn't mean you don't wait on them. Like this is why I wouldn't take McCarthy. Like, I'm not completely sure. You don't take just because the payoff is big on a quarterback doesn't mean that you force Penix into the top 10. Penix would be unwise to take in the top 10 because the odds of his knees holding up long term is tougher. Or don't force up a Mac Jones. Like, the one thing that the Patriots, Mac Jones wasn't a very good player, but you can say one thing: they didn't do what the 49ers did and trade up to get to number 3 to take Trey Lance, right? At least New England sat there and their pick at, what was it, 15, and said, okay, Mac Jones fell into our lap. Now we'll take, we'll gamble on him now that he fell to us at 15, and that's okay. But don't, make the mistake that San Francisco did, where you you push all your chips in, and and I know San Francisco has been good. They got lucky with Brock Purdy, and a lot of other things went right. But certainly they would like to have a better result for that number 3 pick and everything they spent for it than to have had taken Trey Lance.
Last question for you. How about this one here? Is there trouble in Dallas? And Michael Parsons and his people today have filed a grievance with the NFL because of the distinction tag that they picked up that option on, and they gave him the lesser. I believe they tagged him as a linebacker instead of an edge rusher, and edge rushers are valued more, and he left $3 million on the table compared to what it would have been if he would have had a distinction. It's kind of like the tight end wide receiver conversation that we go through sometimes in the value of the position. So, and then you have Dak saying, hey, if I'm here, I'm here. If I'm not here, I'm not here. You got CD kind of laying in the weeds, which is probably the smartest thing to do, lay low on the bullets. You think there's problems going on in Dallas? I mean, does Dallas do they have a handle on what's going on here?
No, this is their history. This is their MO for, how
it seems pretty chaotic right now.
Go back. Hey, remember, go back to the year that Emmett held out for the first 2 games after they won the Super Bowl.
Emmett? Hey, wait a minute. Emmett, Dak? Okay, wait a minute. We're a little bit different. Emmett, they were 0-2 and 1.
No, wait a sec. I'm not comparing players, okay? But I'm saying that Jerry is not proactive when it comes to taking care of players. He wants to play the leverage game because he enjoys the negotiation. He enjoys the leverage. He enjoys the bickering back and forth. And they took forever to get Dez done when Dez was at the height of his. Look at their history of how they negotiate contracts. They wait and they wait and they wait and they wait, and then they wait some more, and it gets acrimonious a little bit, and then all of a sudden you have a marriage. Okay. This is just the way that I don't like that the Cowboys do business this way, but this is the way that they do business.
Just doesn't make sense. You think that kid Caleb Williams makes impact in Chicago?
I hope so. I hope he's great. I hope the kid's awesome. He's a little, he's different.
Yeah. I'm okay with different.
I'm okay with different. It's a little hard to be different with quarterbacks. I do think that the game matters to him. And I think that he's very passionate about it. So, the crying doesn't necessarily bother me. The one thing that bothers me with him is ducking the press after losses. And he did that 3 times at USC.
I think that's his dad. His dad protecting him.
Yeah, but as a player, and you know how this goes over in the locker room. You lose a big game, and the quarterback doesn't talk.
I know. That's a terrible look.
It's a terrible look. And it's a terrible look, not just in the press. It's not just the press is angry at the quarterback because he didn't talk and he didn't do this. It's bad because of the message it sends to the rest of the players in your locker room. Because guess what? Those guys got to face the music.
Yeah.
And those guys got to face the really hard questions. And instead of the quarterback stepping up and going, you know what? It's on me. He looks like a pussy to his teammates.
You said, look at Mahomes, what he does. Mahomes goes like this, right, Jace? He'll go, hey, man, this is on me.
Right.
I've got to be better. We've got to be the coaching has to be better. All of that has to be better. And when they win, he goes, hey, our young guys are coming around. I think those guys are different in how they handle it. And I think even if he's giving you a written response, it's still the right response.
Absolutely. Well, this is what I would say. If I was the Chicago Bears and I was taking him, I would have had a very serious sit down and say, that's got to stop. We're taking you number 1. You're going to step up to the plate. This is Chicago. This is the Bears. This is the biggest team in Chicago.
Would that make you pause on drafting him?
I have to have a conversation. And if the conversation goes the wrong way, then I pause, okay? But I want to have the conversation. I would do that if I was the Bears. The problem is I don't think the Bears are smart enough to have that conversation.
I don't either. Even though I think Ryan Poles has done a nice job this offseason.
It doesn't. Ryan Poles is not the guy to have that conversation. George McCaskey is the one. The owner has to walk in, and the coach is behind him. The GM's behind him, and they're watching the player. But the owner has to walk in and say, I'm investing in you to change our franchise and everything else. I expect you to be the face and the leader of this team. That's what I'm doing here. And if you're uncomfortable talking after losses, because the talking after, the refusing to talk after losses, that bothers me.
That ain't George Hallis. I'll just say that. Hey.
No, it would be George Hallis. It's not George McCaskey.
Yeah, that's right. He would have that conversation. Conversation.
Hallis was the man who went to Sid Luckman's apartment in New York. And he sold him on playing for the Bears because he knew the kind of person he was. Okay, so Hallis understood the value of the quarterback even way before any of us really understood the value of the quarterback.
That's the same guy, Jason, that went like this. He told Dick and Ryan, get along. If you guys get along, you don't have to like each other. I was told this is what Mongo said this. He goes, he told those two guys, I don't give a shit if you guys like each other or not. At the end of the day, you guys have to work together, because if you work together, something great will happen. And he was the guy that kept them together. He said, you coach there, and we'll meet in the middle. And that's how they won that 85 Super Bowl.
One of the greatest teams in the history of the league. And you know, it's an amazing thing, and all sorts of amazing stories came out of it, but the results were fantastic. But again, this is the conversation I would have with Caleb Williams. I said, you have to understand the statement that you're making, because there's a lot of men in this locker room who are expecting you to step up and be the guy, be the face. Don't duck when we lose. That's not going to be tolerated. That's not going to be tolerated in this environment.
There's a lot of guys in the locker room that have good personalities. There's guys in that locker room that when they see stuff like that, you lose them immediately, and they're not coming back to you when you show some type of weakness. There's just all kinds of different dudes in there, and it's a really weird environment in there, and it's very high stressed, and there's a lot of maniac egos in there, and there's certain guys you can mess with. There's certain guys you can't. And when you lose those guys you can't, it's a frightening scenario in there.
Right. And I'll just say this. If you duck and you puss up and you don't own it, then the pink fingernails do become an issue.
Yeah.
Like, they don't care. Nobody cares in the NFL locker room what you look like, as long as you play ball and you produce and you handle your business the way you're supposed to handle your business. They don't care.
Absolutely, Jason. That's why
everything else is a problem.
That's right. Nobody cared what Cam looked like. They went, go play. He was an MVP. Should be interesting tonight, Jace. I appreciate you doing this. Thank you, my friend.
All right, dude. Be good.
You got it. Jason Cole, our NFL insider, Pro Football Hall of Fame voter. Let's take a time out. Keep it right here, National Football Show.
Field of life, First Trust Bank is there for you.
Champions on 3. 1, 2, 3.
Because Philadelphia dreams deserve a Philadelphia bank.
Heading down the shore. Have a ball once more.
Here, imaginations run wild and time stands still. Because here, you can find the best of the Jersey Shore, all on one 5-mile island. So leave the old you behind and get lost in the woods.
Wild, wild, wildwood days.
Plan your stay in the Wildwoods today.
Hi, I'm Jim Muehlbronner, Managing Partner at Del Valle Insurance Group. Give us a call. We're a local, knowledgeable agency, not an 800 number. Go Birds!
The greatest fans on earth. It's a bold statement, but would you expect anything less from Philadelphia? 58 years of heartache creates a toughness, a grit, a resolve not found in most. Sure, our prayers were answered, but now that we've had a taste, we're looking for more. Pondley Hockey, official partner of the Philadelphia Eagles.
EAGLES, Eagles.
Big Sil, some programming notes. Tonight we'll be on prior to the Eagles. Now, if they trade up, what you guys should do is hit a notification for me on what we're going to do tonight. Because if they stand pat at 22, we'll come on before a few picks before them. And if they move up, we'll be on sooner. And we'll have a conversation on first reaction on what they did in the draft tonight. So that'll be there for you tonight. Don't forget, tomorrow at 10 a.m., we're going to be on at a special time. And we will be live for Eagles pick after Bring On McMullen 2 from the NovaCare Center. So John's going to be down there at the NovaCare Center, and he's going to be there firsthand to give us what's going on and what they're going to do, depending on what they do tonight. Obviously, a lot of things can happen. When you're sitting at 22, you're kind of subject to the things that happen in front of you there. So it's going to be interesting to see what they do, obviously. Now, tomorrow, 10 a.m., we'll do an hour show. My daughter's graduating tomorrow night at 10 p.m. Eastern time. So we're going to be doing that there. So we'll be on right after Birds 365 tomorrow. And hey, my final five. I'll do it one more time here. I'd be cool with Bowers, Jared Verse, Chop Robinson, Talisi Fuaga, Teron Arnold. Obviously, the ultimate is if they make a trade and they go get Surtain in Denver. So, look, I think this draft is three positions are dominating this thing tonight. Three positions. Don't be pissed if they get an O-lineman. I wouldn't get this. I would not be upset if they trade. You know, people keep saying Howie's going to trade up. Well, how many times do you think that guy has really telegraphed anything that he does? I wouldn't have a problem with him trading down with somebody to get more picks in rounds 2 and 3. He doesn't have a third round pick this year. You imagine if he picked another second, third, maybe 2 3s up by moving out, and you got 2 3s, 2 2s, and you got a 4th, and you've got 3 5s. And you could parlay those picks into being at the high top of the end of the second and third round. I think there's some, and I agree with Xander 100% in this draft. I think there's probably 20 guys that you want to, that probably move the needle. Last year, there was about 15 guys that moved the needle. So probably there's around 20 this year because of the receivers. But the quarterbacks are screwing this thing up. I hope they get Edgerrin Cooper in the second round with one of those second picks, 50 or 53rd. I'd like to see that. Peyton Wilson is a good-looking player. The kid from Michigan, the kid from Kentucky, they look as good too. So don't forget, tonight we'll do something for a little bit when it comes to the draft. John McMullen will join us live from the NovaCare Center. We'll get a reaction right away on what they do at 22, move up or down. And also tomorrow, 10 a.m. in the morning, we will be on right after Birds 365. Xander, Big Joe, we appreciate it. Till later on and till tomorrow at 10 a.m., we'll see you on the flip side.